Hello and welcome back to Star Trek Europa. We have been away for an unfortunately long time, mostly due to my being incredibly near dead. I got stuck with the Rona, and it didn't do me any good, and I lost 3 whole weeks to the Rona. 2.5 weeks of the Rona, and then a week to having to cover the shop, which had originally been scheduled for me. I am your host, Jeff Harvey. You can find me all the places at Studio Tembo, so linktr.ee/Studio Tembo. There will be a link somewhere. I forgot to copy that link to put it into the chat, but okay. You can find me on Twitter and all that. It's there too. Let's go ahead and do a quick introduction. Brian, go ahead.
My name is Brian. I am playing Ensign Elizabeth Page, amongst other characters. I have nothing to plug, and please do not find me anywhere.
Fair enough. Evelyn.
I'm Evelyn. You can find me on TikTok at Caffeinatrix. You can also find me on occasion on St. Pete by Night over on Twitch. And I am playing Dr. Desavi Onayat.
Jack, go ahead.
Yes, hello, I am Jack. I usually have lots of words to say because I have my own channel, twitch.tv/The People's Ascension, and its associated YouTube channel. However, I'm not doing much right now, unfortunately, because things kind of fell apart with our latest season of RPGs Uncovered, but I am working to get a new one set up. RPGs Uncovered is a series dedicated to showing just how quick and easy it can be for you to learn a new TTRPG. Nothing going on right now, but if you're interested in learning some really awesome games, do go check out my YouTube. We got some cool sci-fi games, pastoral fantasy, post-apocalyptic stuff. It's all great stuff, short stories, tutorials, everything you need to get into a new game. I think, however, that and the VODs for all of last month's charity games are all up on YouTube, and go catch up on everything I've been doing over the past year, and I'll get new content out soon, hopefully.
Yeah, it's always the struggle, right? New content is ever so demanding
when you're relying on other people, because yes. I teach other people's games. So if other people's games fall through.
Yeah. Yep.
Indie creators.
Yep.
Gotta love them, gotta hate them.
I understand it. As someone who is a collector of role-playing games and has a vast array of both high published and indie games, just talking to indie developers sometimes, you get the impression that you're not sure that they really thought about the game they made. It's a great game, but they're no longer on this game. They're on to the next project. And it's
tons of enthusiasm, only so much
attention span.
Yeah.
So, all right. When last we left our intrepid adventurers, some stuff had gone down. I want to go ahead and give another trigger warning for this episode. This is the third in a series that is dealing a lot with bodily autonomy, as well as personal choice and things of that nature. So there is a potential for conflict that people may not find suitable for all listeners. Listener caution is advised. Let's go ahead and do a recap. What do you got for us, Ev? I think you're the recapper.
Yep. So when we had started off almost a month ago now, the ship had been rocked by an explosion, knocking our sensors, comms, warp, life support in some places, all offline.
It was bad.
Ego was offline. Yes, it was bad. The captain had shrapnel in his lung. Dr. Jawan was unconscious and bleeding. Postra and Niala had bridged some of Medbay's power to keep secondary computer core from cascade failure. So Eva was for a while communicating solely via text. In the Medbay, the EMH came online, got cut up by the SSH. Delphine got snippy with the SSH, who got snippy right back with her, and finally she told him that if he's not going to be of any use, he won't be of help, and just tells him to go hand out supplies. Got one of the engineers who came to medbay to go bring one of the mobile transmitters. Silva got basic sensors back online. He went down to the Arrow Wing to use its local transporters, suggested using Morse code to communicate with transporting. Delphine hooked the captain up to his chair to keep his cybernetics going because he was going to die in like an hour or two when he refused to leave his post. They got Joanne to the med bay. She was not doing well. Severe internal injuries. Is going to require surgery and blood transfusions. The SSH got the med bay replicator online. We can make plasma, but can't make Hadal blood. It's too complex. Captain contacted Starbase 173. There are no complications at the Starbase itself, but they had reports from 15 ships in 7 different sectors with the same energy damage. We found out the energy came from a star in system 7271, which is an uninhabited system. John told O'Connor that his mom had said that something like this could happen if a ship had been destroyed well in slipstream. O'Connor passed that information on to the captain, who I believe put her to task, making sure that we can detect and protect that sort of energy wave and protect ourselves in the future. Eva had been unable to detect the wave before it hit us.
Right.
I think that is. Oh, and the captain ordered the flight team to tractor the ship off of our current course. I don't remember what was wrong with our current course, though. We were drifting into something problematic. I just apparently
he also wanted to send you guys. He also wanted you guys to go to, where the a wave appeared to originate from.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We weren't going to do that in our current state.
You couldn't.
Right.
When last we left, you couldn't actually go anywhere.
Right. The flight team was tracking us off of our current course for some reason.
Yeah, we're just pointed in that direction now, so we don't fly into a gas giant or or an asteroid field or something.
Yes.
Yes. There was something on our current course that was going to be an issue for us.
Yeah.
Yes.
That we had. I wrote down we had 2 days. So whatever it was is going to kill us in 2 days if we didn't get the hell off course.
Right. Which you did.
Which we did. I believe that is all of the highlights.
Okay. We have unfortunately lost Brian, who will be back in just a second. He messaged saying he'd gotten booted off.
I wasn't looking at Zoom, so I flipped that screen back and I'm like, wait, there's not enough of us.
Yes, we're short one. And we're all askew now in the feed. So hopefully he comes back in the next few seconds. Let's go ahead and introduce. This is Dr. Jawan again, because it's been a couple months. We have a picture of Nyala, Alira, who is the mother, and John. These are the characters we have thus far encountered on this. And if I can remember any of them and how they played, that'll be great.
Overrated.
Joanne is incapacitated, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Right.
Unconscious and incapacitated, so she's easy to play.
Everyone else is fine, though, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Riot is a pulsating green square. That's fascinating.
That's how I've always visioned him.
It's his true form.
Yes. Little divine sight there. Oh, Lord.
Oh, God.
Not sure
quite a transformation.
I'm not sure that wasn't worse for a second.
You're still kind of greenish, and you have no volume, sir.
It's a lot of green. Oh. There's your sound, though.
Okay. gonna have to do some rebooting.
Oh, I see. You're on a different camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm on a different camera. It's not supposed to be green. Don't know what's going on there.
That's all right.
It does appear to be like slowly clearing up, though.
It does. It's doing a white balance as it goes.
There we go.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
All better.
Well, then I might just have to use this camera.
all right. All right. With
Welcome
that,
to live streaming, folks.
yes.
Right.
Fortunately, because of the way we transitioned into that, I can actually cut a lot of that out in the not live version of this podcast. So with that, when last we left, the very end where we left, I believe there was talk of trying to get the warp back online, but I was going to have something happen. And I did not prep a ship. So that's okay.
Test. Just want to make sure it's working.
Yes.
Yeah,
You're good.
you're louder too.
Good.
You were super quiet.
No, this is my better camera.
Excellent. So, with that, on the bridge, the captain and company. Oh, I'm not sure the captain's on the bridge, is he?
I have to be on the bridge.
Oh,
He
yeah.
is tied
That's
to
right.
the bridge.
You are not able to depart.
I'm jacked into my chair.
So,
Mhm.
you get a notification in from whoever is currently manning ops, which is not Yezebeth, as she is currently in engineering, as I see. She's doing some kind of engineering project.
No, Yezebeth was heading to the bridge.
Was she?
Unless I have that wrong. I had noted that Tong and Yezebeth left for engineering and the bridge
Okay.
when last we left them.
Okay. I just have them in different parts of the ship, so different parts of
Yeah,
the screen. So I think that's
I
where
don't recall specifically saying they were going anywhere. They were just trying to fix the ship, which meant going to other places.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, either way, Yezebeth, you can be on the bridge because it doesn't hurt anything at the moment.
Sure.
When you get Eva reports to you that there is a ship coming out of. I want to do that yet? I mean, I really don't have a choice. That's where we're going to start. A ship that comes out of quote unquote warp appears before you. It is a large scale, probably 5 ship. It is definitely a distinctive design that you are not familiar with right off, but of course the computer can quickly identify it as being a Hidali ship. Hidali, whatever I called them, ship. And it begins hailing you.
Captain, I've got a message from an incoming Hidali ship. They're hailing us.
All right, put them through.
She'll put it through.
This particular face appears. Starfleet vessel, I am to believe you are in some distress. Your Admiral Arlani contacted us and has informed us that you require assistance. I am Chancellor Brian of the Hidal conglomerate, and we are here to offer aid.
Well, Chancellor, that's very much appreciated. We are putting ourselves back together in short order. I believe I passed on to our nearest Starbase that one of your people visiting our ship is in serious condition in our med bay. I would think that would be top priority, but we, if we could use assistance with repairs, we will let you know.
I was not informed prior to my arrival of any injured.
Well, that is the case. Dr. Joanne took a bit of a hit during the subspace wave.
You get a sense. You get a sense from your empathy of. She doesn't show on her face, but there's definitely a sense of existential dread when you say that is Dr. Jawan who is injured. She's stoic enough that it does not show up on her face, though.
Can I get the sense? I don't know how to word this. Never mind.
Okay.
Our doctor currently has Jo on as stable as we can keep her, but we are very new to your species. We don't know much about your biology and can't synthesize the needed materials.
I do have medical personnel aboard. May we beam across?
Of course, I'll have somebody meet you in the transporter room. I am unfortunately a little indisposed at the moment, but they will show you to your people.
Indeed. And the screen goes dark. And since I don't really have a ton more for that, let's go ahead and just do our opening credits. All right, so who's going to be in the transport room? I'm assuming Tong. Since he is the transporter technician. Let's say.
Is Tong otherwise busy with engineering?
He certainly could be. No one really has to greet them in engineering unless you have a desire to have them greeted there. I think I would just
I would call a security detail. Just because that's standard procedure. It's not like a whole contingent of people with rifles. It's just, the normal Starfleet.
Standard stuff.
About Koba? We haven't seen him in a while.
Who?
Koba.
Koba? Yeah, Koba could be there.
Sure.
You want Koba there? I would also, of course, calm down to the doctor. Dr. Dasavi, we have representatives from the Hidal coming on board to help you with your newest patient.
Excellent. Hopefully one of them will be a match for the doctor.
Koba. There we go. In the engineering room, or in the transporter room, aboard beams the Chancellor, as well as two others who appear to be in medical attire, and one who appears to be not at all medical related. Certainly some kind of protectorate. The weapon that he has is non-energy based. So
okay. Koba will welcome aboard the Europa. You'll forgive us if we don't do a standard diplomatic protocol. We're kind of in the middle of a mess here. Where should I take you to our sick bay?
I believe that would be most beneficial.
Right this way. And he'll lead them down the hallway.
The two doctors are they don't talk a ton. They don't talk really at all. But they're definitely eyeballing the Bolian, having never seen a Bolian before.
Koba is talking enough for the both of them.
Yes, it's absolutely legit.
Is this your first time aboard a Federation ship?
It is. I have met with the Vulcan captain of the Mackinac, but I have not been aboard a Federation ship prior to this.
Well, you're lucky your first one's the Europa. If it had been the Mackinac, you probably never would have gone aboard another ship again. But the Europa, yeah, now that's a great ship.
Indeed. Tell me, what has happened here?
Well, we're not sure. Some kind of energy wave, from what I hear, And yeah, I'm not exactly first to know these kinds of things, but we don't expect any more to hit the ship, which is good. But we're doing damage control pretty much everywhere. Yeah, it's a pretty nasty bit.
I see. Well, the information that I have gathered from other ships in the region appears to be similar. Was hoping that the Federation might have more insight as to the actual cause, but something I will bring up with your captain, perhaps.
Sure. Well, I have no doubt that the geeks are looking into it. Oh, sorry, that's an Earth term. That's what we call nerds. That's also an Earth term. That's what we call science people.
I see. We call them assets.
That's good too.
I believe we are here.
Yes, of course. I'll usher them in.
So in she walks along with the others. I assume that
Cobra departs. He doesn't. I'm sure he's got damage control stuff to get to.
Sure. Also doesn't necessarily want to be here for any Dasavi, political stuff.
Yeah.
So as I said, she arrives in. Can you go over here? Koba can go away. Bye, Koba. I assume I don't know what's going on in sickbay at the moment. I know you were working.
Yeah. When we last left the med bay, Dasavi had the SSH replicating. While the SSH had gotten the replicators up in med bay, they were working on replicating plasma. So she would probably be. She'd probably have Delphine is on the bridge.
Yeah,
so she'd probably have another nurse and the EMH prepping Joanne while she's pouring through the information that she'd gotten from Alera and John, and coordinating with, probably talking with Eva about, okay, this is the information we have, essentially consulting.
Mm-hmm. Did you scan John or just? I don't think.
I thought we scanned them both.
Originally, we only scanned Liara or whoever you're calling her.
Alera.
If you did John later on, maybe, but I know originally it was only Alera.
Because to my knowledge, I has been operating under the impression that you had not scanned John yet. So,
That's entirely.
Regardless, perhaps someone is doing it now.
Well, he's in the library right now.
Yes. Although again, time could have passed. If you need to have him scanned now, or if you want to do it later, we can. Either way is fine.
Well, and she would be calling for the other Hadal, because if I recall correctly from the information we had, Alera was not a match for Joanne.
Correct.
So she would be calling for Niala and John to see if they are matches.
Right. I think Brian was going to say that at the moment, John and Alera had been helping in the library, but I also believe they had been kind of dismissed from that position, just as Niala had been dismissed from the engineering division.
Alera was down in the arrowing with Silva. John was in the library with O'Connor.
Right.
Because O'Connor was keeping him occupied because he was very worried.
Right. What were you going to say, John?
Two anxiety kids were putting their anxiety powers together.
Right. What were you say, Brian?
I actually just wanted to establish if we're reasonably able to move about the ship at this point. Is it fair enough that okay?
Yep. Yeah. You don't have turbolifts back online yet, but other than that, yes, you can move around pretty effectively. And turbolifts are probably active on some levels because the chancellor's not going to climb up and down.
Sure.
No, to make this one work, or I'm going to stand here, kind of thing. So for the most part, the ship is up and running. You're still down warp and your propulsion systems are not fully functional. You also don't have, I think I said last time, you didn't have weapons yet. But most of the internal and subsystems that are essential for ship operation are moving around, are functional. So at least at partial function. So the Chancellor enters the room and says, "Where may I find Dr. Juwan?"
Over there, unconscious, being prepped for surgery.
You are prepared for surgery?
I'm prepared to do the best I can with the tools at my disposal. I presume you're the Chancellor?
Yes, I am Chancellor Brienne. These are my personal physicians.
Pleasure to meet you all. You can grab up over there. You know your people better than I. Do you happen to know offhand if any of you are matches for the doctor?
We would have to see the records. She gestures to one of the doctors to begin looking at your documentation, and the doctor kind of comes over and does a gesture of supplication and gestures. Do you mind?
Oh, nope. I bet.
Begins digging through your computers, digging through your data that you have on Juwan's condition, I should say, not just like, I'm going to go take your work tech now.
Right.
What's this EVA thing? Download that. Chancellor Brienne, I do not think I need to impress upon you the urgency, the importance of Dr. Juwan. It is essential that we do all we can, as I'm sure you no doubt would do regardless, but I simply wish to impress upon you the importance of the good doctor. Her survival is paramount.
As with all of the crew under my care, I will do everything I possibly can to save her.
One of the doctors says, there are no compatible matches aboard our vessel. The information that we are finding here states that the only scanned Idal we have found aboard this vessel is Engineer Alira, and she is also not a compatible match. We should immediately scan all other Idal available. Given her condition, I do not believe she can be transported at this time.
Oh, certainly not. She's very touch and go.
Well, where are the others?
Eva, where are John and Niala?
Alira was at the Arrow Wing, right? Yes.
Alira's at the Arrow Wing, but we already know Alira's at a match. Niala is in engineering. John is in the library.
Alira had left engineering. She's on her way back to work. She was in her quarters now.
Okay.
Niala is in her quarters, and John is in library access.
Excellent. We'll calm over. Niala and John, please report to the med bay.
Oh, okay. John looks at O'Connor like, I don't know where that is.
Oh, here. I'll take you. It's okay. And she'll stand up. They've been sitting on the floor, and take his hand and lead him off to the med bay.
Some very frantic note taking there, Jack.
I'm seeing things. I'm seeing things come together.
Yeah. Niala reports back as on my way. Does anyone have anything they want to do while those two are on their way to the sick bay?
I would like to get an idea of what the Chancellor is thinking / feeling, depending on how well guarded she is. Because I am pretty sure, I think Dasavi's probably pretty sure that her definition of survival is paramount and do everything you can is not quite the same as Dasavi's.
Sure. There's definitely a lot of concern. She doesn't show it on her face, obviously, but there's clearly a that feeling you get when a loved one is is in a situation where you don't know if they're going to survive or not, but it's not necessarily, it's different than that, but it's like that. So it's not, there's no personal connection, it seems, but it's more of the president has been struck by a car.
I'm gonna say, Kim Jong-un is not okay.
Well, yeah, it's way more like trying to think of a good example. In the modern world, there really isn't a good example, at least not in the US. So think like 1969, Neil Armstrong has come down with COVID. So
what? I literally cannot imagine that.
So Neil Armstrong was so important to the world, or someone like Oppenheimer, or Einstein. When Einstein got sick, this is someone who is, when Robin Williams passed away, that kind of thing. Yeah. That it's going to send shockwaves across the entirety of their civilization. That's the kind of feeling she currently feels. Like, this person is that important. We haven't really portrayed her like she has been. Like, we haven't really talked to Juwan, so we don't really understand necessarily why she has that feeling. But certainly that is the level of concern she has. And when she says paramount, she means if for the second she believes you didn't do everything you could, she will destroy your ship and kill all of you and erase you from existence. Because that's just kind of how she rolls. But you get the impression that's just kind of how she rolls, just in general anyway. Like you erased my email, kill them all.
She takes board game day very seriously.
Yes, there has never been an unflipped Monopoly board. Like, she is not messing around. There's also a level of insecurity in there somewhere. That whole imposter syndrome thing is back there, just like it always is. But that is what you get.
Okay.
Did anybody else have anything else they wanted to do with a different character prior to them arriving in sickbay?
No.
Okay. Jackie, got nothing? All right. On the bridge, we'll do a quick one. I forgot her name. Dasavi? Not Dasavi. Define. Haha, I didn't even look it up. Define is frantically trying to, adjust knobs and levers and wires and pokey bits into the captain. Like, this is working, but at some point this is going to have to be undid. So
it's temporary, but she'll be doing her best to make sure that he's comfortable and he's stable.
Comfortable is, comfortable.
Comfortable with shrapnel sticking out of his chest. And
I suppose I just mean able to do his job.
Right. Okay. If we don't have anything else, then let's go to Nyala and John both arrive. O'Connor is there as well, arriving with John.
Koba would escort them.
Okay. The doctors are also there, but he's me, so it doesn't matter. The SSH is also here, just as an FYI, because he's still undoing whatever he's doing, just in case you want to chime in as a character.
I thought the SSH was being installed into a Halloran servitor bot.
I think the bot was being prepped yet, so he hasn't been transferred yet.
Okay.
Would it be fair to say that Koba sticks around because this woman has made itself very clear that she will do violence at the slightest provocation?
She hasn't made it clear, but yeah, you're welcome to stay.
I mean,
it's certainly clear to an empath, but
well, do you think that the Savi would ask Koba to stay? Just in case.
There is a security officer there with her, so, and he is armed with a weapon, although it's like a weird kind of kukri.
I'm just trying to think how.
I'm fine with you being there just because it gets you in the scene.
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with him being there.
Okay.
I think at the very least, Savi wouldn't stop him. I think her focus is probably more on let's save this woman. So if he's just like, you know what, I've assessed the situation and I feel like I need to stay, she's not gonna.
Well, I just
wouldn't
know
even think to argue.
I just know he doesn't know what the Savi knows, so I was just
right.
That's fine.
Yeah.
At the very least, if they have a security officer, it would be fairly standard procedure for a Starfleet security officer to be there too.
That's certainly.
Plus, you can get wrapped up in the idea of what's happening. So, because Koba is the kind of guy I could just see being like, this is kind of, there's some stuff going on. I want to watch it. So either way, when
blue on the inside too,
right? When Nyala and John arrive, they see the Chancellor, and they both. John kind of takes a second to adjust, but they both appear to. I don't supplicate is the wrong word.
Pay homage.
Yeah, what's the genuflect a bit? This is you're meeting the president of the United States, essentially the president of Earth, as it were, or someone to that caliber, anyway. Nyala says, Chancellor, I was not aware you had been in the system. Brienne, nor should you have been. The doctor needs your information to see as to whether or not Dr. Juwan can be assisted. And Nyala, who I don't believe not sure if she knew that Juwan had been injured or not. Of course, absolutely. I am here to serve. And she looks at John as well, and John just nods. Of course, yes. So go ahead and give me a science roll, medicine roll, to get that data, which I'm pretty sure you already know the answer to, but. Thank you for following along in your book. You've figured out where this is going.
Right.
What is your character's name? Oh, Dasavi. I don't know why I was looking for the characters that I'm playing on this sheet.
That is definitely how that works.
That's not how that works.
Wow.
Did you get a bad roll?
That is some bullshit.
Can't see it. Hang on. There it is. Not a zeros. Got 2 zeros.
Not.
Well, the ship assisting won't help you there because you got zeros.
Well, not.
You do have a giant ball of momentum up here in the corner.
We do. We should use that.
You can use it however you see fit. Now might not be a terrible time, but then again, it's also not necessary because the other doctors can scan too.
Yeah.
You can spend determination to reroll, even after you roll.
You can.
Yeah, let's do that.
So which value are you using?
Those are
I love
talents.
values.
Where are my values?
Honesty is the best policy. Doctor knows best. With great risk comes great reward. Emotion in a crisis makes things worse.
Probably Doctor knows best.
Yeah, I could possibly see that. Let's see.
I mean, is this one of those you failed to lockpick the door situation? Now we just have to stand here and twiddle our thumbs?
No, it is not.
What is since we failed this roll, there is a means to proceed forward, correct?
There is, yes.
Okay.
So do you want to do that, or do you want to just move forward without having the roll? It's really just giving you more information and having you guys build momentum, which I don't think does any good because you have 6 currently. So
yeah, we already have all the momentums.
All right. So you scan and you, as you're doing your scan, you find that you don't note any direct compatibilities in either Nala or John, although John does have he could be a blood donor. As far as some of the other things you were seeing, though, your scanner's just like, yeah, I don't really understand what I'm reading here. I get it. It's a body. It's a weird body. The other two doctors, though, they proceed through the scans that they do, as well as the data that you provided. I don't have any threat here. I should have me some threat. And after several minutes, they tell you that, or they Chancellor, it appears that given the extent of the injuries, while we do have some compatibility, there is a risk. However, it would require extensive organ replacement. The only compatible donor that we have with any level of compatibility is John. The Chancellor looks at John and yeah. No, it was. I wasn't really. We were some telegraphing there,
right?
The Chancellor looks at John, and there's a look on Nyala's face of, and you get the sense that there's a definitive like sinking. That's not good sensation from both of them, really, but John much less so than Nyala. The Chancellor says, "Then do it."
No.
I'm sorry.
You're talking extensive organ replacement. Blood transfusions, easily enough done.
Yes.
Minor organs, well, minor organs that one has surplus of, like a kidney, with John's permission. Again, easily enough done. But how extensive are we talking?
The doctor, they would be critical for both patients. Without them, John would not survive. Nyala again has the sensation of that's really not great, and John is beginning to grasp a sense of understanding of the situation.
We can put the doctor into stasis until we can either, betwixt your records and our records and our technologies, replicate the necessary organs. Or if you happen to have I don't quite know how your society functions if you have organ donors on your planet, people who have died, whose organs are still viable. However, the moral and ethical implications of trading a life for a life.
The human moral or ethical implications.
The Federation.
I have
an ethical implication.
We have our own physicians if you refuse to perform the operation.
And you can do them on your own ship.
Prepare my patient for transport then. She looks at the other guard. The boy shall go with her. The two doctors kind of look around for a second, and then, Doctor, if you'll show us, if you could provide us with some instrumentation for several minutes.
Federation cannot and will not dictate what ethical standards you hold yourselves to.
Excellent.
But we also will not be party to this.
You will not aid the doctors in preparing the patient for transport.
I will not aid the doctors in killing someone else so that this person can live.
I have made no suggestion thereof. The doctors have asked you for aid in transporting the patient. Please make arrangements. Turns to Koba. If you do not mind, I would return to my ship.
I can escort you back. We have this funny thing called asylum. The Federation offers it to people who may be in trouble.
Lieutenant.
Yeah, there's a distinctive sensation you get from the Chancellor. Like, yeah, try that. She doesn't say it, but there's a distinctive... I don't think even Koba would have a problem understanding that that was an impression.
I don't know why I brought that up. Just out of the blue. I'm full of non sequiturs. I talk too much. Is my real problem. And then he'll set about escorting.
Dasavi will turn to the EMH. Please stabilize the doctor as best you can for transport. I shall return. And she will go find the captain and en route call for Alera to meet her in the ready room.
Okay. The ready room that the captain can't go to.
Well, she doesn't know that yet, though.
Right. Okay. Koba is escorting the Chancellor and her bodyguard to the transporter room. You arrive on the bridge. Alera has already been escorted into the ready room. You are informed this by anyone on the bridge. Probably O'Connor. Not O'Connor. The other one. Your other one.
Mills,
that one.
I mean, I feel like she'd probably notice the captain strung up by wires as soon as he gets to the bridge.
Oh yeah, no. As soon as you're there, you you get the Delphine is like using a tricorder to massage the captain's, still beating heart kind of thing. Not quite that bad, but you know what I mean. She's making frantic adjustments on the thing, like, hey, you know what is not designed to keep people alive? Chairs. It's not really a life support mechanism. So
yet we make do.
Make do.
Yep. She notes this, looks at Delphine with impressed approval. Captain, we need to have a conversation. Actually, I don't need to say a word. Telepathically.
Yep.
They want to harvest John to save Joanne. I told them the Federation won't stop them, but we also won't assist them.
Yes, fortunately, we can have this conversation telepathically, so I will respond in kind as the two of them just kind of stare at each other while this nurse is like poking me with bits. Anyway.
It's a very awkward sensation. No one on the bridge is talking.
Yeah.
But there is a conversation clearly happening.
That does not terribly surprise me. However, I share the concern and distaste for it. I assume you've made it clear you'll have no part of it.
Absolutely. They are preparing her for transport to their own ship.
Is she stable enough for transport?
No.
I would impress upon the Chancellor that that is the case and that doing so may solve our problem for us.
I informed her as such. I have called Alera and she just kind of, as she says that, gestures up toward the ready room where she's probably standing looking awkward.
Well, she's probably in the ready room, I would imagine.
Oh, she's probably in. She just kind of head nod toward the ready room then. To get her take, I guess, permission. If she doesn't consent to this, John is a child as much as a child can or cannot consent. I think we should put asylum on the table.
We are quickly approaching a diplomatic crisis here.
I know.
We could offer asylum, or more appropriately, we could leave the idea of asylum in a noticeable location for them to pick up and request it themselves. But I don't know if we're in any position to be able to uphold that. If that is the case, I will protect the ship and I will protect Federation values. But the Europa is no match. He nods silently towards the view screen to that out there. Not right now.
Understood.
We need to look for other alternatives, or at least stall tactics.
I offered to put her in stasis until organs could be replicated, until they could find other donors from more time of life appropriate avenues. It wasn't even considered.
Well, I think if our doctors and their doctors come back after realizing that the transporter pad will likely kill her, we may have a bit more time and a bit more leverage to present other opportunities. In the meantime, I'll reach out to the Admiral again and see if we can get some proper ambassadors on this.
Well,
I'll switch to verbal communication. Well, Doctor, I would join you in the ready room to discuss this issue with Alira. However, our lazy doctor here lazy nurse here has not seen fit yet to install my chair with a hover pad. I don't know what she's doing down there.
I'm quite certain she's working on her engineer, going back to academy to get her engineering credentials as we speak.
Captain, it's never a good idea to call the person who's literally holding your life in her hands lazy. She's obviously joking. That's not a threat.
Yep.
Yes.
Everyone could use a little extra motivation now and then, as his arm twitches.
All right, so you're going to head into the ready room.
Yeah.
All right.
I would, while she's doing this, I would like to, I'm just going to work on my integrated command chair pad here, and put together a text document to report to the Admiral. And I would like it very well encrypted and sent out discreetly. It might be picked up, but I'd like it encrypted in case it is not. I'm not going to do this over normal VidCom.
Gotcha. You could do an encrypted channel as well, a secure channel, but rather than hashing it all out, the doc is the way to go. Anyone have any what is, I forgot what. No, we'll just stay on this track. Okay, so you get into the ready room, and Illyra is there. Alira, not Elira. There's a huge mess in this room because, it partially exploded and there's much blood all over the floor. Both of the captain's color type and of the Hidal's color type. So kind of a bluish greenish color.
Savvy walking in the door and seeing the scene, looks apologetically at Alira. If I'd known the state of this room, I would have chosen a better meeting place. My apologies.
The captain is severely injured.
The captain is, well, he's fine.
It's a Tuesday.
I
installed the hardware in him. I know how it works. It's fine. We'll get him picked up.
Look, he's fine. He's been better, but he's fine.
It's fine. It's fine. It's just a limb. It's fine.
Dr. Jawan, on the other hand, is in critical condition.
There's definitely a sinking of spirits at that.
Your doctors and your doctor inform me she will need extensive organ transplants. And your son is the only one in range who is a remotely compatible match.
It doesn't take an empath to catch the fear that the fear and more. It's really less fear and more terror that comes across her face and mind. She kind of goes to the exact pose right there, actually, with her hand up and her eyes are a little bit welled up.
I have informed your chancellor. We do have the technology to put the doctor in stasis. Our replicator technology is quite impressive. It would take some time and some merging of your computer's data and ours. But I believe, I have no reason to not believe, we could replicate adequate organs, at least to get her back to your home world.
So just as a Star Trek lore knowledge base for your character that you would know.
Okay.
There is experimental technology that has been used to directly replicate organs using the DNA of the person that was there, right? So that's something they did with Worf. The other technology is illegal in the Federation, and that's cloning. Those are the only real options you would have. And cloning is illegal in the Federation. Now, you could make the argument however you want that you're not cloning a person, you're just cloning pieces of people. So yes, the technology certainly technically does exist. It is by no means a guarantee, though. So, but yeah, that's just because the doctor would certainly know those things.
Okay.
So
okay. All right. So we'll retcon that a bit.
You haven't said anything. You haven't said anything that's out of sorts yet. I mean, if Dasavi is convinced that this is the better way to go, then by all means, you can do it. It's just technically, possibly, break a law or two, or use technology that is technically unproven. So
that's fine. That's right in her wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say anything until just now. So, all right, back to that.
Your chancellor seems content to go with the most immediate option. However, I think you should go into this with eyes wide open. And to that end, and she will push some buttons on her pad and flip it around to her. She will give her an overview of the experimental tech. We'll leave out the for now because it's legalish. And sort of like a potential outcomes, things of that nature, and buried in that information, there's just going to be an accidental report. Isn't really the
a link to
notation.
asylum.
Right, about the Federation's asylum policy.
Follow this wiki page to asylum seekers.
Right. We have a page of various Federation policies and medicine, and just weirdly that happens to be in there. I don't weird copy paste something or other. I don't know. Editors, we need better editors.
Yeah. She picks up the thing, but you can tell that she's certainly not processing what what her eyes are seeing. She sets it down after a second of looking at it. What is the extent of Juwan's injuries? Without John, what is her chances of survival?
Without John, with time and our tech, it's still pretty touch and go, but I think it can be done.
How long can you keep her sustained in stasis before brain damage? The answer to that would probably be no more than a couple of weeks.
A week or two. It should be sufficient enough time to get either her back to your home world or to get replicated what we need replicated.
And if John were to help her,
he would not survive.
No, but what would her chances be?
He's not an exact match. There is still a good chance that her body would reject his organs. Trading a life for a life is tragic in and of itself. Wasting a life on a...
I don't relish the thought, Doctor. Don't mistake what I'm... I know what I am, and I know what my son is. And I know the impact we will have on our civilization. Dr. Juwan is something else. I do not have any desire to sacrifice my son. And if there is another way, then that is the route we should take. But Dr. Juwan has transformed our civilization. If she dies, that transformation could end. That is... It's a difficult choice. I need a few minutes, if you don't mind. And I need to, if there's a way to contact, do we have long range communications back on? Is it possible for me to contact John's father?
Take all the time you need. Eva, what's our communications situation?
At this time, we have minimal long range communications. However, using relays, I would be able to reach the Hidal homeworld. It may take me some time.
That's fine.
Because you didn't tell her to turn on privacy mode. She's been listening the whole time.
Yeah, no, it's fine. We take you to a less messy room, though. You can imagine it's difficult to think in here. And she'll pick the pad up and press it back into her hands. And take her, I don't know, somewhere, some other room that's not full of blood and debris.
Yeah, there's a conference room. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Of course.
All right. With that, let's go down to engineering. Down in engineering, the Tong and Kostra are working on getting some of the warp systems back online. There's a significant amount of damage to the warp system. There was oh my goodness, excuse me. Nyala and Kostra had earlier solved a problem with a containment issue, and they used some other than standard means to do so. So now it is a matter of untangling that mess. So we're gonna do this as a extended gated challenge. That's something we've never really done, I don't think, on the show. And I kind of want to try it out. So there are 2 gates, which basically just means that before you can proceed to the next challenge in the extended phase, you have to complete those. The difficulty on the first gate is going to be 1. Ooh, 1.
Difficulty or the magnitude?
The difficulty is 1.
Okay.
The magnitude is going to be 3.
Okay.
The resistance is going to also be 1.
Okay.
And then there will be a duration, whatever they call that. Interval. Interval. Yeah. Work also, yeah. Work will only be 10, and then the interval will be 1 hour. 1 hour for the first one. The second task, and I'm going to write these down. Difficulty will be 2. Magnitude. No, go down. I should have written these out beforehand, but I'm smart. Magnitude will also be 3. Resistance will also be 1. Work will be 15. And the interval will be 2 hours. And then the final interval, the final gateway is just 3 hours of time, because that's the restart of the warp engines. However, if you want to do it faster than that, there is a sequence for being able to do it faster. Which I don't know the difficulty off of, but I can look it up real quick. I think difficulty is 3. But so that's what you got. You're looking at somewhere between 3 and 5 hours before you can get to where you can start the engines. The normal startup sequence of the warp drive is 3 hours. That is something established in next gen. So
what are the 2 challenges?
The first one will be running the rerouting the electroplasma systems. And the second one will be adjusting the deuterium flow.
Okay. Okay. Kostra will get started on that deuterium flow issue. He'll push the sleeves of his uniform up and get to work.
All right. Step 1 is the EPS conduit, so we'll start with that. And then the deuterium, because you can't do it's gated, so you have to do one before the other, right?
Gotcha. I thought you meant okay, sure.
Yeah, I know. I suppose I could switch them around which one is which, but
no, that's all good. So Kostra is going to get started on the EPS conduits. He's going to start stringing them all over. he'll be like going down hallways as if they were cave tunnels, just unspooling EPS conduit in order to try and circumvent bad circuits, and just start laying it down.
All right, go ahead and give me a roll, and if Kostra is in the lead, then Tong can assist.
Okay. Talents don't apply when assisting, do they?
No,
I don't. I think they do. Yeah.
No,
Okay.
The only thing is you can only roll one, and you can't use determination when you're assisting. I don't think.
Gotcha.
Although I may be wrong on the determination thing.
I think you can.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says you can't.
I mean, it wouldn't make a difference to me either way. But if you want to use determination, I'm all for spending that stuff. I think it's great, especially if you've got values that you can use.
I mean, if you want to do the lead on this roll, and I can do the next one. It's an extended task, which means we kind of both get our own rolls.
Kind of. That's you're thinking of the scientific method thing.
Well, the scientific method is an extended task.
It is, but
well, presumably this will take us more than one interval to do.
Yes.
So I mean, he could roll this one, and I could roll the next one.
Yes, absolutely.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So, So I'll go ahead and I can do the first one. I'm going to go ahead and spend a couple momentum. I'll spend 3. Let's use some of that. Does my emergency repair focus apply?
I would say no, because you've already done the emergency repair. Now you're trying to get an actual repair.
Oh, come on. This isn't an emergency.
We're fixing your last emergency.
We're fixing the last emergency repair is the thing. Like, you could do it as another emergency repair, but then you're just going to keep doing emergency. You just keep patching the boat. You know what I mean? What
about my troubleshooting focus?
Yes, that would apply.
All right. I'll say we need to make sure this thing's running flawlessly. I patched it up for now, but I'll be damned if I'm going to let a job go half finished. Let's boot her up and see where we are. And then I'll go ahead and roll that engineering roll.
I will assist. All right. And I have a talent. Whenever I succeed at a task using reason or control as part of an extended task, we may ignore up to 2 resistance for every effect rolled.
Okay.
So we roll the work now. It's 2 plus engineering. And you said the difficulty was 1, right?
Yes. So you've got 4 momentum. 1, 2, 3, 4 momentum.
Yeah. We'll put all of that into
work.
Yeah. Yeah. For this one's difficulty 10. Yeah, we'll do that. So that is
it's 10.
10 total.
With 2 effects.
Which means we ignore 4 resistance, which is all of it.
Right. There's only 1 resistance on this one. So yeah. So
you managed to actually get 10, which is a magnitude. And then because you got 5, and then you get a second magnitude for actually reaching 10, so you have 2 magnitude.
Okay. So the engine spurts a little as you can hear the as it boots up, but it's not quite there. Kostra will hit it, and shockingly, that does not fix anything. So he'll look to Tong and see any ideas.
Yeah, it looks like it's just about there. I'm tracing the EPS lines now, and man, you and your new girlfriend really did a number on this. If we reconnect this one here, I'm gonna have to cut that and move that over. I think I could do this. It might take me another hour or so, but I think I can fix your mess, sir. I mean, I will right away, sir.
I'm gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Thank you, sir.
Back where I come from, we call that wrench brain. It's when your mind's focused on the job and you say something stupid to your manager.
Right. Very, very exciting work here. Just got caught up in the excitement of redesigning an entirely new EPS grid.
All right, let's do it. So go ahead. I'll go ahead and assist your roll.
We'll come back to that roll.
Mhm.
So,
Presumably, there's space between this 2 hours of work.
yes. That's why it's intervals, right?
Yeah.
So, in that time frame, the good SSH has been uploaded to a functioning droid body.
Mm-hmm.
So you can do what you want with him now, pretty much anywhere, because he's no longer stuck in sickbay. I imagine the bridge still doesn't have its emitters back online because that's not a high priority.
Yeah, I think he would prioritize. He would make himself available to assist in the repairs of strategic assets like shields and weapons. And,
good Lord.
Maneuvering thrusters, stuff like that.
Right. Okay. With that, then, does anyone want to have a conversation? Before we get back to Alira and whatnot, you guys aren't in sick bay, so nothing going on there as far as you guys go. Does anyone want to do anything else on the bridge or between Dasavi and the captain or Define and anyone else? Yezabeth, anybody else that wants to do something?
When the immediate emergency seems to have faded, I think Define will politely suggest to the captain that we unhook you and take you to sickbay for more permanent solutions.
I think our good doctor has her hands full with our current medical crisis. If I'm stable here, I'm stable here.
If you insist. I will remind you, though, that this is a temporary solution. I cannot be absolutely sure how long it'll last.
I recall there was a captain once, Pike or so, who was supported by a chair for a good dozen or 2 years. We'll be fine.
Didn't he communicate by a series of beeps?
Yeah, so we're already functioning better.
I'm sorry, all I'm hearing is beep, 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 beep.
You should get that looked at.
She'll give a small smile and get back to her instruments.
All right, Dasavi, what are you doing?
I think Dasavi would like to consult with the EMH, EVA, and the SSH about replicating these organs and how quickly and efficiently we can get it done.
Okay. Probably head back down to sickbay for that, since that's where the EMH is, and he can't go anywhere because he doesn't have a body to upload into. Nor do I think he could upload at the moment. So you head back down to sickbay. When you get there, the two doctors that were, the two Hadal doctors appear to be extremely frustrated, and they have been, they're standing out in the not the hallway, but not the medical, not the actual treatment suite where the Dr. Jawan is, and you see and sense that they are very displeased by this positioning that they are in. A couple of the nurses keep telling them, but the doctor told you have to wait here. He's working on, and then there's some random gibberish that you don't recognize, but it sounds vaguely medical.
Yeah.
Like they're clearly like not using medical. It's medical terminology that doesn't fit where it belongs, where it's being said. Right.
Right.
And the doctor is in the not the surgical suite, but the prep suite, which is in another room. So you can go past them and into there if you wish. And I assume you've called the SSH down there, who is probably wrenching and then is like, God damn it, I was just down there a minute ago. I imagine.
I finally get out of there.
They have another hologram specifically for this. He's not being useful. I'll use up his code allotment.
Going into the room there with the doctor?
Yeah.
All right.
And she'll just kind of, I don't think she's even going to acknowledge the other doctors at the moment. She's just going to brush past, looking busy.
Okay. Dr. O'Neill, I'm glad you have arrived. These barbarians have been trying to take this patient. I have managed to stabilize as best I can, as per your instruction. However, I am not willing to, at this time, relinquish care of my patient to anyone other than you.
Appreciated. I have a challenge for the lot of us here. I presume the SSH is here at this point, or are we still waiting on him?
Probably arriving. You see the same thing that she saw. The doctors are out in the hallway. The nurse points and says that Dr. O'Neill would like to see you. To the SSH.
Yep. And he'll just walk right in.
Yeah.
Excellent.
In a Halloran robot body.
Yes.
Eva, you're here as well, yes?
Yes, doctor.
Excellent. So, I am going to do my best to convince the Chancellor to let us put her in stasis while we replicate the organs she needs. It's going to be difficult. It would be difficult with species that are well known in the Federation database. We have now 2 Hedali samples in our database. Fortunately, one of them is the patient in question.
I think up to 4.
Right, 4 now?
Yeah.
All right. Well.
Oh, well, no.
Double our chances.
Because you failed the roll on the one. So, yeah, you're at 2.
Fair enough. With your extensive knowledge of the Halloran system and being the Halloran system, Eva and EMH, with your superior processing and my practical knowledge, I think our 4 heads together, we can get this done. I know it's not going to be easy on any front.
The EMH is like, how do you intend to replicate these organs? There is nothing on the ship designed to do precisely that.
Ingenuity.
We do possess enough biomimetic gel that we possibly could clone the organs, and we do have equipment that could be repurposed for that. I do not have to remind you, though, that that is not something Starfleet would look kindly on.
Well, I think they'd look a little more kindly on that than killing a child to save, well, anyone. But that is a problem for me, not for you to worry about.
Yes, I can't be court-martialed. I'll do whatever you want.
But the reminder is appreciated and noted.
We would need specific equipment, though, looking at which I believe is what a requisitions droid is for.
Save the snark.
Yes, I am unfortunately bound to this limited form at the moment. I will be seeing towards the repair of more suitable arrangements for myself in short order. Yes, I believe one of the many system upgrades that I have suggested and proposed to yourself and the captain has included integrating more Halloran systems into our medical and organic replication systems. However, such facilities may take time to replicate. If you had heeded my suggestions in the months previous, we might not be in this situation.
Again, save the snark. We can argue about all of these things later when we have time.
Well, I can't say I'm very good at replicating kidneys. I've not had to dispense any of them in my role of quartermaster for quite some time. However, I can look into putting together some sort of fabricator for this biomimetic gel and leave that in the adequate hands of our holographic physician here.
Well, however we get it done, let's try the method the Federation's going to be least angry about first, and if we can't, well, as the EMH pointed out, you two can't be course-martialed, so you'll be fine.
Eva chimes in, they can't be court-martialed, but they can be reintegrated into my systems, which I do not require Federation assistance for. And she just kind of, you get the impression that she's kind of, there's like a smile on the end of her voice there.
Have we ensured that all parties with vested interest in this endeavor have been adequately secured?
Leave the convincing to me. I'm hoping the Chancellor will agree to this route. If not, well, we'll set that diplomatic bridge ablaze when we come to it.
Well, perhaps we can simply clone her too.
Don't tempt me.
Little genetic modification. It's doable.
Yeah.
We have the technology.
Turnabout is fair play.
So
nothing.
the doctor, the SSH, and Eva are going to be setting off to set up a replication system. That's what you want them to do?
Yep. I will make sure that I'm certain she already is, but that Joanne is as stable as she possibly can be to be transported back to the Dull ship.
Yes. It's not a real high chance that she's going to survive the transport. It's, less than 50-50.
Yeah.
Probably more like 30% that she'll survive the transport. Now, she could possibly be transported by shuttlecraft, which would improve her odds, but not like really moving her at all at this point is not ideal because she's hooked up to machines that I assume you don't want to send with them.
Could a skilled hand at a transporter make that an easier, make that the odds go up?
Yeah, I mean, you could, if you got talents and things that could do it, sure. The difficulty is just significantly higher for the transport, but it's not impossible to do. I would say the difficulty is probably 4 to do the transport. You get the enough determination and talents and whatnot. You could probably reduce that to 1 or 2 or make the roll. And
I don't
if you fail, it's horrible.
Want the transport to work.
Right.
I don't think we want her transferred in any means.
Like, I just wanted to be clear if it was like a flat thing or something we could approve if we needed to.
No, yeah, you absolutely can do it. Yeah, it would just be one of those things where if you fail the roll, you've probably killed her. Well, not probably,
sure.
You've definitely killed her if you fail the roll. So.
Fair point.
What is the likelihood that the tech that we use to save Yates could be applied in assisting with replicating or cloning or what have you, what we need for Joanne?
Which character? Who did you say?
Yeah.
Cassidy Yates. We use her signature from the transporters. They transported over, yeah?
Yeah, in a different episode with different writers, it's totally possible because that happens in every episode. Like it's transport technology is one of those things where, like, yeah, we could just reset her to an earlier state, but that's also, just kind of depends on the episode.
So it depends what's more interesting story-wise for us.
Right.
Yeah. I would say yes, you could probably do it. Difficulty is going to be even higher, and since difficulty max is at 5, let's say it's a 5 difficulty and a maximum complication range, probably.
Yeah, that wasn't an easy roll the first time.
It wasn't easy roll the first time. Yeah.
She was in a lot better condition and a lot less removed from the problem.
Right.
But we do have a massive momentum that could be
Well, you've got 3 now.
applied.
Oh yeah, you have the giant one. Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah, that is not the ideal solution, but you certainly
No.
can try it.
Okay.
And that's one of those things where, again, it just depends on the writers of the episode.
Right.
Star Trek, I hate you.
Just embrace the camp. Embrace the camp.
I just like the camp applies only to certain episodes. Some episodes are way better written than others, and sometimes a transporter is the solution. Sometimes outthinking a computer is the solution. And sometimes just reading the first paragraph of the Constitution is the solution. So
therein lies madness. Just embrace it.
Right. Yeah. As long as it's not always the solution, you got to have a different campy solution every time. You've used that one, you can't do it again. So what does anyone want to do now? Now might be a good time, since there's not much more the doctor can do there, so it might be not a bad idea to get the captain out of his chair. Unless you just want to spend your whole time in the chair, which you can do.
Like, I mean, he seems pretty set in that chair, man. I tried talking him out of it.
This time he's going to try and catch the Chancellor before she actually beams off board. And otherwise...
Oh, no. The Chancellor's already gone. She left right away. She went straight away. The boy, however, has not gone immediately, as he had to collect some things from his room for whatever reason. Not like he's going to use them. But so John is back in his quarters. Nyala is also back in her quarters. Alira is probably on her way back to her quarters before talking to you again. The Chancellor's off the ship. Dr. Jawan is in sick bay. Where would you like to pick up again? We had last left off with, let's do a quick jump back to the next roll on the engineering. And then we'll do whatever we want to do as far as Alira and company goes. This was going to be a Tong roll. It was to finish the EPS conduits. You've already got your workload registered out. So all you really got to do is get, 5 successes? No, like 1 success. You got to get like 1 actual success.
Oh, is that all?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Your difficulty is still 1. Your resistance is still 1. So you have to get, I guess, technically 3.
Okay. So I'll ask about the logistics of this later, and just believe you that we only need 1 net success. Okay. Control, engineering. I have my focus in electroplasma power systems and my value. So I will, you know what? Let's just go ahead, and I'm good at this. Let's take a momentum, see if we can't generate more momentum. So I will roll 3 dice there, and there we go.
And then, of
4
course,
successes.
Of course, the coaster can also assist. Not that he needs to, because he already succeeded, but.
Actually, could I have Yezabeth assist?
Yeah. Okay. Have her leave the bridge and go help.
Or she can help from the bridge, reroute stuff.
Yeah. Alter the boot sequence or something.
Yeah. Would my you said troubleshooting would apply, so I'll do that again.
Nice.
All right. So a ton of successes.
Is there a button on here for rolling work?
Challenge dice?
Challenge dice.
Yes.
There we go.
Yeah. Add
2 plus engineering. Right.
2 plus your discipline, yeah.
Yeah. There we go.
And that gives you 3 momentum back. So 1, 2.
And I can ignore the resistance because of my talent and all of those effects.
Right. So you get another one of these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. You're back up to 6 momentum.
Awesome.
And your effects do your thing. You didn't need any additional work, because any work beyond the work track counts as a success. And the work track, as far as I'm aware, does not reset. Although there is some contention on that from something I read the other day. So as a quick reminder of how the rule works, you've reached your difficulty. You succeeded. You passed your difficulty, reduced your resistance, so you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 successes. 6 successes at a difficulty of 1 with 1 resistance. You have enough successes that gives you 4 momentum. You've gone over the workload, which counts as magnitude. You would actually gotten 2 magnitude for that, so you actually have 4. You only needed 3, so you succeed, and that task is complete.
Is it spending excess momentum or spending effects that allows me to do flashy things?
Momentum.
Okay, well then I won't worry about it.
I mean, you have an extra success there, so you could pretty much spend some. You do it in an exceptional way.
Tong has been playing around with what were those guys who hunted the space whales? They had some pretty sophisticated programming technology, didn't they?
Yes, yeah. The people is what they're called. The Jadar, something like that.
Yeah. The Jaran Haroon or something like that.
Right.
They had some pretty sophisticated programming and like engineering tech, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and he got a look at that, and some of the they had something similar to like an organic system in there, I think.
Yes.
Tong has been playing around with sketching out new ways of tying together the EPS systems and the organic components of the Europa and the BioNero gel packs.
Mm-hmm.
So I think he introduces some completely new EPS conduit schematic into this.
Okay. Also, with working with the technology of the Hidal, you've also because that's what they were working on before. So
that's true.
The Bonanue is the name of the
that's what it was.
The race. The Jaran Haren is the group that you were with.
Right. Man, this exploration stuff really has its benefits. I've put together a whole bunch of new schematics and EPS conduits ideas here. I'll be very interested to see if this works. Hopefully, it doesn't explode. Boop.
Turn it on. All right, we'll get to the next set of extended tasks after a brief word from our other player characters. So, Dr. Desavi, what were you going to do next?
She's going to contact the Chancellor.
Okay.
I will before we get to that. I will also. Ambrose is not adamant in staying in the chair, just as long as it takes for the other problems to be addressed. So if Desavi thinks that if Medbay thinks they can get me out of this chair, stabilized and back together before, without interrupting things, he will of course relent. It's just whether there's time in the narrative. So
right.
Go ahead.
Theoretically, the repairs that you would require aren't super complicated once you're in sickbay. So just getting out of the chair and having someone walk you down there, Anyway, Desavi contacts the Chancellor first. Let's do that first. The Chancellor comes on. Where are you going to do this in? The sick bay or your quarters or your office or the bridge?
Your office.
Okay. So you're in your office, and she comes across the screen on your little laptop there. Doctor, may I be of service to you? Is the patient ready for transport?
She is. However, I cannot stress enough that her likelihood of surviving transport is incredibly low. We have other options.
Yes, you intend to replicate organs and put her in stasis and possibly destroy her mind in the process.
Only if she's left in stasis for too long.
And your technology is sufficient and actually functions. We know we have a working solution now. Leaving her in stasis prolongs the opportunities for failure. Yes?
Again, only if left in stasis for too long.
Or you have a failure in your creation process. I am not opposed to leaving her in stasis for some time. However, Doctor, we have a guarantee of success. Well, not a guarantee, but the best chance of survival. I understand the Federation's hesitation. We do not take these tasks, this obligation of our people lightly. The greatest thing a Hadal can do is benefit their society as a whole. I suspect that the Federation feels the same way.
The Federation doesn't turn their less intelligent members into organ farms.
As he stands now, John has little to no chance of having an impact on our society in any way. This is an opportunity for him to not only impact our society, but do so as a hero to our people. Dr. Juwan is not just another mindless, for lack of a better term, citizen. Dr. Juwan is a visionary who has transformed our society in her very short life in ways that we could not possibly have imagined prior to her existence.
Everyone impacts those around them in some way, shape, or form.
But they do not impact the galaxy, Doctor.
What John lacks in sheer intelligence, he more than makes up for in curiosity and inquisitiveness. Traits that, if fostered, could be of great benefit.
At the expense of an already proven mind.
A mind that, as you say, has already made such significant.
And could have many more to come.
Possibly.
She is young.
But he's also not an exact match.
He is not. But your science, your replication, and your stasis is not a guarantee either. This is proven technology. We know how to do this. We have done it before. It is not common, but it can be done.
The options that lay before us have the potential for one dead or two dead.
I am simply playing the factors, Doctor. There are percentages, there are numbers, there are statistics. Your technology is unproven. You don't even know if you can replicate our DNA, our genetics.
In that you are correct. However, you entered into agreement with the Federation.
One that your Federation has already backed out of.
Because our replicator technology exceeds your own.
Yes. But it is not your technology to replicate organs, Doctor. It is your replication technology to create food items. This is a significantly different type of endeavor.
It is, but it's been done before.
And we do not have a formal recognition at the moment. Your ambassadors, your admirals has made it clear that your ship, at your request, has already deemed our relationship to be incompatible. If our species' morality are incompatible, so be it. There are other species in the universe that are not. We can simply go our separate ways and see where fate takes us. I appreciate your efforts, Doctor. I truly do. I do not wish to sacrifice the boy for no reason. I will give you time. But if at any point Dr. Juwan's condition deteriorates even in the slightest, she will return. The boy will be sacrificed. And there will be nothing your ship or your federation can do to stop it. Do you understand me, Doctor?
I appreciate the show of faith.
It is more than you showed us. Brienne out. And the screen obviously goes dark.
Yeah.
What you gonna do next? What's anybody gonna do next?
Put her into stasis and unless there is more that she can do on the replicating side of things, go make the captain ambulatory again.
Okay.
I think Lieutenant Silva is going to approach the captain.
Okay.
Captain, I had an idea. We still don't know what caused that energy burst. What if we take the Wave Runner out to the origin of it? We might get a better idea what causes in the first place.
Before this newest crisis, something like that was a higher priority. I'm mostly concerned in determining whether or not this is going to happen again.
I mean, I agree. That seems all the more reason we should chew and walk at the same time.
Yes, but currently, what is it called? That ship, we don't really call it the Wave Runner, do we?
No,
It's something else.
The Arrowwing?
The Arrowwing, yeah.
It actually has
Currently,
I think it actually has a name too, but
It does. I don't remember it.
currently the Arrowwing is providing
the Minos.
Currently, the Minos is providing important functionality that the ship currently lacks.
Well, we could take a runabout if it's an issue. Technical. Runabout should be up to the task.
GM is the... Are we talking about distances that a runabout could handle?
Yeah.
And I don't see why not.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And the Minos is just a souped up runabout, so.
Yeah. Well, we certainly don't need the entire crew to sit around here and play politics.
With your permission, I can find some non-critical crew members who want to stretch their legs and take them on, go on a field trip, so to speak.
Put together a team. Let me know who you come up with and give me a timetable for this for this expedition.
I'll send it for you. I'll send it to you for approval.
All right, who are you thinking?
I'm thinking Silva herself. Well, no. Actually, I think Silva needs to stay here. I think it should be Jissa, Kendall, and O'Connor. Yeah, that's a good team.
Assuming
This
that
team again.
assuming that Jisa would do it, yes.
Yeah, why wouldn't you?
Lisa's out with the Peregrines tractoring us off course.
I'm sure that
Unless-
didn't take long.
Yeah,
Oh, okay,
and
that's not
If you
a-
that's
pointed
something
in the
that
right
anybody-
direction, you'd pretty much just keep going. They don't need to be out there all the time.
right?
Gotcha.
Or they could just also stop you. I mean, so you're not drifting anymore. So
Yeah.
that's totally doable. More of a Jisa sometimes got some strong head in her. All right, where is Jisa anyway? She's under command. I don't know where she's even at. O'Connor, though, I got O'Connor right here. Put her there.
Yeah,
Oh, you know
Jesus
what?
is under command.
I just realized that's the exact same OE team
It
last
is.
time.
Yep.
So how about Koba instead of Kendall?
Okay.
That's up to you.
Yeah, I mean, let's mix it up a little. I don't want to have the exact same group out.
I kind of like the potential drama of putting the exact same group out.
Right. Either way, it's up to you.
Yeah, I don't think I want that drama quite.
Okay.
So I think Koba is a good choice.
Right. Maybe Kendall was supposed to go and she's like, I need to stay here and do
I
something
mean,
else.
she did request to not be put on
She did.
detail with
That is
what's her
true.
face again.
Mhm.
So I think Koba is the better choice.
That sound good to the captain there? Sounds good, right?
Yeah, that'll work.
So with that, the doctor and Define and the captain. So the runabout heads out. I assume that Silva informs them of what their mission will be, which is to go investigate the source of the anomaly and ensure that if it's going to happen again, we know like at least a minute beforehand. Like, hopefully whatever signal you send is faster than the thing that killed you. So with that, let's go ahead and have I don't really think it necessarily needs a roll for the captain to get better here, unless you guys want to do one. You have all the momentum you can handle, and it's not mission critical if the captain can't be back on his feet. So
If there's no consequence for failure, then let's not bother.
yeah, the only consequence of failure would be killing the captain, which I don't really want to do at the moment. I think, or putting him in a coma, I guess, temporarily.
You could put him in a coma. That
He just came out of a coma.
That could though add some tension to the now Dasavi's in charge thing.
If it'll add tension, let's roll. We may succeed. The dice may dictate that stakes go up.
Let's go ahead
I
and do
think
a
we already
base.
have enough tension.
Let's go ahead and do a base roll. Just if it'll difficulty be 2. I'm gonna say I don't have any threat, so I can't raise the threat range.
I mean, you can.
I could. But
You can.
I can do whatever I want, but mechanically speaking, I probably shouldn't. Difficulty be.
It does.
Go ahead.
Mechanically speaking, it does say you set the complication each time you roll. So you don't just move it up a threat. You set the complication based on what you're doing.
That's true.
So
still, the difficulty. I said the difficulty should be 2. I'll go ahead and up the complication range by 2 also, because you do have the correct equipment and all that, so it shouldn't be too big a deal. But maybe the captain's hand is tingly for a couple hours or something.
Sure.
Or something worse. Who knows? Go ahead and give me a quick roll. Whoever wants to lead and whoever wants to assist.
I will.
I assume Dasavi would lead, but it's up to you guys because
Yeah.
since Define was the tech on the spot who knew what was going on with the chair, you guys could go either way.
No, I think Dr. DeSalvi will lead. I'm also going to buy a die, momentum.
don't forget about we keep forgetting about it, but you have a talent for being CMO.
Oh yeah, I do keep forgetting about that.
I think it's just add advantage, but I might be wrong about that. Hold on, I could have written down. Yes, you always have the advantage medical department.
Okay.
It's boring.
don't-
But
Boring. I don't know offhand what it does.
Lowest difficulty by 1.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Oh, there we go. So it's only raised by 1 instead of 2.
Yeah, Delphine will assist, and because she is assisting and has chief of
Much better.
staff, you get to re-roll 1 dice.
I don't think I need to re-roll any dice.
Okay, well,
I don't think you have a focus that applies, though.
Emergency medicine or alternative medicine wouldn't apply there?
I don't think, since again, that's the whole, like the same thing with like emergency repairs. You're kind of doing the
Okay.
actual repair now, not the emergency repair.
Got you. Okay. Well, so that's 3 then instead of 4.
And then go ahead and assist the fiend.
I did. I got 0.
Internal medicine would apply, but you don't have you got a 0, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Where on earth is the thing? There it is. So you got enough successes, and I don't see anybody having
No complications.
complicated the thing. So yeah, after a few minutes of like half an hour or so of poking and prodding at the captain, he is mostly re-intacted, and it will take some time for the dermal regenerators to do their thing. Have a couple of rounds of dermal regeneration to get this, everything back to normal. But you are as functional as you can be at the moment, Captain.
Congratulations, Captain. We will have to save the hover chair for another day.
All right. Maybe in a few years. All right. Well, I suppose I'll be stuck in a different chair waiting for these flashy lights to knit everything back together again, but at least I can move around. Appreciate the ingenuity.
Of course.
Yes. Very quick thinking.
Where are we on Dr. Joanne?
The Chancellor has agreed to try it our way. Yeah. EMH, SSH, and EVA are working together to get the necessary organs replicated or otherwise fabricated.
If I
Under the understanding that if Joanne's condition diminishes in any way, she and the boy will be taken and the boy will be sacrificed. Her words.
if I may be so bold as to ask a question, has anybody spoken with John about this? I know he's young, but he does have some agency of his own in the matter.
Yes, some. I've not talked to him yet directly. Alera wanted a chance to talk to his father.
I think this is a discussion primarily for their family, but if they request or could be benefited by medical or psychological aid, perhaps speaking with one of our counselors or one of yourselves could be beneficial.
Agreed.
However, unless there is a diplomatic means of handling this, the Chancellor is correct.
He is. Doesn't mean we have to assist. Just means we can't interfere.
I would advise we continue on as many fronts as possible. Utilize whatever non-ship critical systems you need and whatever personnel you need to fabricate whatever you need. I also did have an idea of my own while stuck in that chair. Perhaps something like that could be arranged. I know very little about medicine, but could the doctor and John be supported by a singular set of organs, whatever organs are required for at least an amount of time? Could it buy us more time?
theoretically,
Possible.
from my end, theoretically, it's possible. Life support, essentially life support system. The engineering on it might be more difficult because we don't have a good idea of the patient's physiology. If we had more knowledge of the patient's physiology, perhaps. Not more knowledge, but more understanding, I guess.
It is possible. It's a significant amount of strain on both sets of organs, but not a bad last resort sort of thing.
I'll leave that to you. Simply an idea I had while my lungs were hooked up to my command pad.
The newest generation of eye lungs.
As I said, use whatever ship resources you need, but work quickly. This situation will deteriorate very quickly once the doctor's does.
Indeed.
Okay. What do you want to do next? Let's go to the shuttle. Shuttle's on its way. Actually, let's go ahead and not do shuttles just yet. Let's go ahead and do engineering since we still have some stuff going on in engineering.
Is there anything that needs to be done on the fabrication side of making this?
No, I'm not going to make you guys.
Okay.
That's the role will be for the actual doing, not the technology exists. You guys have the technology. It's just a matter of putting it together.
Oh, cool. But couldn't I take it you're asking if the SSH needs to help with this?
Yeah, if the SSH could either speed that up or provide some sort of advantage by incorporating Halloran technology.
Yeah, couldn't the SSH do something like that?
I suppose.
I mean, we don't need to overcomplicate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a big deal. It would just be a single roll. I don't think I want to do it as because running low on time. I don't think I want to do it as a as an extended task or anything. But
no, I just figured he could do the extended task roll.
Which extended task roll?
The engineering one.
Oh, that's the engineering one is for deuterium. That's the.
Yeah, but couldn't he logistics up a deuterium matrix that will?
No, because he's already working on another project.
Yeah, those are two separate issues. We don't need to complicate those matters.
Yeah, he's busy doing doctor stuff because he's been usurped for that.
Gotcha. Okay. Sorry, I misunderstood.
Yeah, no, I thought you were saying he could do something with the medical stuff, which he could. It wouldn't make a huge difference.
Sure.
Okay.
I got it now. But did you want to do the engineering next, or?
Yeah, sorry, I was just finishing up. I got a bajillion texts. Go ahead and do the deuterium correction roll. The difficulty was this is to basically to adjust the deuterium flow to make sure that everything is working properly, so that when you turn the engines on, nothing explodes. You have the correct mixture of matter and antimatter. So difficulty is 2, magnitude is 3, resistance of 1. Excuse me, work is 15, and it takes 2 hours. Per interval. So, and anyone, you can use anybody you want. If you want to use Yazabeth for that, or if you want to use Tong, or if you want to use Kostra, or Koba.
I would like to use Yazabeth if you don't mind.
Have Ambrose going to be like, I'm going to poke this. All right, go ahead and make the roll. Whoever wants to be the lead.
So Yazabeth is going to start drawing upon her knowledge of these engines. As Jorah, she knew these systems quite intimately. So I'm going to use my talent for joined. Once per scene, I can gain a trait that reflects that advantage. So that decreases the difficulty by 1. And I have Nick of Time, which I score 1 additional work for every effect rolled. So that's good to know. Does Tong want to assist me on this?
Yeah, I'll assist.
So Elizabeth is going to take on a very Jorad-like countenance, and I'm gonna spend 3 momentum on this. Yeah, my troubleshooting applies. May have accidentally rolled twice. Yeah, ignore the second one.
Which is a way better roll anyway. So 1, 2, 2, 2. So that's 7.
Mm-hmm.
It's 8 with Tong's assistance.
Love it. Plus advantage. So
yes, which makes difficulty 1. So you have 7 momentum.
Great. I'm gonna roll and determine where I want to spend that momentum. So extra work for each of those effects. So that's 7 work. And you said that it was 15?
Yes.
Okay. Dang it. I almost there. Almost. What was the resistance on this one?
1.
But with my intense scrutiny, we can ignore that.
Yeah.
To do that, you would sacrifice 1 of your work, though, I believe, because you have to use the effect.
Yeah, so it ends up washing out.
Yes. Either way, you end up with 14.
Okay. We'll take that.
Yeah, that is.
You know what? Oh.
Go ahead.
Can I spend 2 of those momentum to create advantage? To say that in the course of doing this, we've come up with an efficient plan that we can use to help future rolls.
Do keep in mind that we have something very significant coming up in the very near future that we may need momentum for.
He's not talking about momentum. He's talking about talking about using the momentum from the roll.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
yeah. Although I can put it back in the pot if you want. We've still got 3.
You could.
So.
No, I thought you were using additional momentum from.
No, using momentum from my roll rather for to create advantage rather than work.
Yeah.
Legit.
Yeah. So the difficulty would be for the next roll. The difficulty would be 1.
Okay. But actually, because I have plan of action, if an ally succeeds at a task made where the advantage. The difficulty still, the next one, the difficulty will be 1, and you will generate 2 bonus momentum if an ally uses that plan. So Elizabeth will take a very captainly demeanor as she begins saying, Tom, go down to shaft 6. In that nacelle is a particularly useful juncture. We can reroute that to the starboard side until we can get a replacement from the Starbase. And you would, I think, like, if it wasn't for the fact that it was coming out of somebody's mouth, you would think you were talking to Jorad. But yeah, so she comes up with a plan.
Okay. Tongs. I can just imagine Tong's face, like, I killed you. I mean,
right. Not a long-term solution. We're basically running on 1.5 engines, but a creative one. Yes, sir. Ensign.
That's all right. That's all right, Lieutenant. That's all right, Lieutenant. The Europa will hold. The Europa's held this long. She'll hold a little bit longer, I'm sure. Carry on.
There's that like back and forth eye movement. Like, do I say something?
I'm just kidding.
No, and he leaves.
All
right.
So that was 12 work total because I spent 2 of that on momentum.
Yes.
Or on
difficulty 1, magnitude of 1, resistance is still 1, 12 work. You've done 1 interval, and when you have plus 2 momentum for the next one, I got it all written down.
Yep. Okay, great.
So the progress that the EMH, SSH, and EVA have been working on, they will have the thing assembled shortly. Overall, we've been dealing, like, the doctor has been in stasis or not stasis, but was injured approximately about 5 hours ago. So we're now getting into, if she wasn't in stasis, we'd be getting into, severe trouble. The two doctors that are there are watching. They've offered assistance repeatedly. They've been denied assistance by the EMH whenever it's been brought up. They are, however, monitoring the doctor's condition, both on your systems and on their own tricorders, equivalent to tricorders. They do not at all seem thrilled by the fact that they are not able to treat a patient, the patient that they're here to treat, or do a whole lot with them, or be able to have their own technology here for the patient. But they are so far accepting of the condition, of the situation they are in.
Hearing them offer to assist, Savi will ask, what of your equipment can be transported over?
We can transport as much of it as we need to. We have a number of technology that we're more familiar with that is perhaps similar to yours. Monitors and pumps and stasis fields and biobeds, that sort of thing. I'm not sure how much of it would really benefit, but it's a familiarity thing. I think you understand, Doctor.
Fair enough. This will be a joint effort. If it let me rephrase this. This will be most successful if we make it a joint effort. You are no doubt.
The politics of our separate societies aside, Doctor, we have a patient.
Yes, that is the most important thing. Politics be
damned. If you don't mind, I'll request some additional equipment and some nurses. We're more familiar with our physiology.
By all means.
There are a number of things that I'm seeing, however, that are concerning with your stasis fields.
Such as?
They are adequate. They are substantially well built for what my knowledge of human physiology and most other physiologies are. The doctor's injuries are quite extensive. With any luck, they will not have any issues. However, I don't believe that your estimation of weeks is as likely with not Halloran. That's a whole different thing. With the Hadal physiology, I think we are more looking at several days, perhaps 10, maybe 8 days on the outside. You can see the neural pathways are they're not yet beginning deterioration, but they are definitely showing signs of entropy, of early entropy. Oxygenation is lower than it should be. I do not believe there's any risk of damage at the moment, but we will continue to keep an eye on it.
Well, whatever your equipment can do to extend her chances.
Our stasis technology is not really any better than yours.
But it's more calibrated to your people.
It's true. We can help adjust that here as well. Our brain chemistry is very fragile. Anyways, we will do the best we can, of course.
I have no doubt. She will go back to fussing with monitors and helping
Doctoring.
however she can. Doing
basically
doing doctory things.
Googling the desk reference, basically. Yeah. Anything else anyone wants to do there? No one has gone back to talk to Alara or John, and they have not come to you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, actually, this is probably a good chance, a good opportunity for Tasavi to go check in on them.
The tension on the ship, or the mood on the ship, is at the moment sort of the fatigue is setting in from all of that has been done. You've been through quite a lot over the last 5 or so hours. People are still working hard. It's actually been longer than that, considering when the damage first began. But when all of this first began, because you guys were working on prepping for the repairs and everything else before that. But so the crews are starting to get a little bit worn down. They're still working happily, obviously, but it's getting into that. It's late. People want to go and get drinks and settle down and relax and decompress from the day. So there's some of that beginning where possible. So the feeling on the ship is still high stress, but there's definitely pockets of wind down happening. And it is probably about third shift time. So normally under normal circumstances, the lights might dim in certain regions of the ship, although probably not in this case, unless you're in like 10 forward or something. Right. When you get to Alira and John's room, you ring the chime, and you hear, enter.
Alira, John, were you able to get a hold of John's father?
I was. I don't know that it made anything any easier, though. He is adamant that the right thing to do is to follow tradition. I am not as convinced. Unfortunately,
I have. Please.
I was simply going to say that, unfortunately, if that creates any kind of conflict between the magistrates and such, unfortunately, it means that I believe he would be able to make the legal decisions. Of course, we're not near any magistrates, and we're not on the home world at the moment. So it has little bearing.
Yeah.
What were you going to say, Doctor? Sorry.
I have convinced your chancellor to let us try our way. Which buys us some time. And it's a long shot, but it's worked in the past.
Well,
if it fails,
a relief.
Or if the chancellor decides the doctor has deteriorated before we have the opportunity to try, the two of you, and she looks at Alira and John, will have a decision. As you said, you are not near the home world or any magistrates. You've had a chance to read through the documentation I provided you on the procedures and Federation policies and all that.
I have.
You understand your options.
I do. And as much as I appreciate the offer of asylum or the potential fulfillment of a request, I don't know that I'm prepared or that John is prepared to live a life where he can never go back to our world. It would not be that dissimilar to being dead.
Well, that is a choice only two of you can make.
Is it our choice? Is any of this really our choice? Is any of it really his choice?
Your culture has very black and white views when it comes to certain things. It is your choice. It is a difficult choice.
The potential death of one of the greatest minds in our history, my own son, or the faith in the Federation to protect us for our entire lives.
Would they pursue you with such vigor?
I don't believe the Chancellor would, but there are those in our society, as there are in almost any, who would view it as potentially treason. Or at the very least, a betrayal of the people of our entire society.
And I presume, of course, if the doctor were to die, it would be openly broadcast. Why?
Even if it wasn't, there's a ship full of people who know. There's a ship of people here that know. You can't keep 400 people silent forever. Nor should it be. If we refused, it's the consequences of our actions. If the doctor dies for any reason, our people will need to know. They will know. If she dies in stasis, they'll know that it was because the Federation insisted on the doctor being in stasis. If the replication of organs fails, the people will know that. If it is because John is incompatible, they'll know that. If it is because John refuses, they'll know that.
Well, and he's not entirely compatible. He's the closest match available. And that's hardly his fault. He can't help his lineage.
No.
Lineage is the wrong word. He can't help his genetics.
Yes, I know what you meant. Fate plays a big hand in all of our lives. Our people have done our best to mitigate its effect, but the greatest contribution anyone in our society can make is to the betterment of our society. That is the goal and dream of every single person. Some of us know, myself, Nyala, our contributions will be forgotten throughout history. Not that they have no impact, but our names will never be written in history books. Dr. Jawan's already is. John's fate could be the savior of one of the greatest minds in the history of our planet. Or it could be that we succumbed, what's the word? Succumbed to outside influences. And then our names would both be spoken. They would be in the history, but they would not be on the right side of the books anyways. The right side of history, perhaps, but the right side of the history told, I think not.
Or it could be that his sacrifice is what advances your society, not just intellectually.
Perhaps.
Either way, and she looks again at John. Either way, you're making a sacrifice. You're sacrificing your literal existence. You're sacrificing existence as you know it.
Yeah, John doesn't say anything. He's clearly, he's kind of like fidgeting with something in his hand. It's some kind of spanner. There's, his his emotional state is, fear, but also kind of blank. You get that point where you can't think of a thing. You just kind of shut down and you're mechanical. That's kind of where he's at. I'm sorry, Doctor. I'm sorry for all of the hardship that our coming to this ship has caused. I'm sorry for any potential harm that could happen if we hadn't reached out to the Federation. We wouldn't be here now. And I pushed Dr. Jawan. I pushed, not alone, but the opportunity to meet new species was something that I've always wanted to do. And we've encountered several over the centuries, last century. Romulans and humans and so many. But we could have, I suppose we didn't need to rush into things so heavily.
The hardships are not your fault.
Yeah. Doesn't mean they won't feel like they are. There's always a matter of looking back on one's life and thinking of the changes you could make, and could you save your... I'm sure you understand.
I do. Whatever hardships are brought upon by all of this are at the feet of myself and the captain. We've made the choices we felt were necessary and appropriate. You didn't ask for a single thing. None of that is on.
I wish you the very best of luck on your upcoming surgeries, Doctor. If you'll excuse me, though, I'd like to spend a little more time with my son.
Yes.
She goes over and sits on the couch next to him and puts an arm around him, but he doesn't look up or just keeps fidgeting. Okay. Let's do the runabout real quick.
Okay.
You reach the section of space as to where the believed origin of this thing happened.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and the space around it's an empty system. There's a planet here. The planet has suffered a significant amount of damage as well, like visible from space kind of damage. It has a decaying orbit around its own sun. The moon that was clearly nearby has been eradicated, although you can't tell before scanning whether or not it happened because as a result of this thing that happened, or if it caused it, or if it was beforehand. So there is no life on the planet. There is no detectable life or ships or readings in the system on a base scan. And there is no debris so far matching the Hidal technology. So go ahead and give me a scanner roll or sensor roll or whatever kind of roll you guys want to do. Whoever wants to make that roll, the ship can assist.
Kova will whistle and look out the window and say, something blew up that moon, or the moon blew up. Either way, I want to find. I want one of those.
I think we got hit by the same thing there, Lieutenant. I don't think we want anything to do with whatever caused this.
Sure, I suppose.
The ship rolled like crap. So
It's a shuttle. It'll do that.
Well, I rolled a 17. It wouldn't have mattered. The Europa wouldn't have succeeded on that one.
Fair. Does O'Connor want to do the main role, or I'm happy to assist?
Can do that.
Yeah. Jesus, like, I'm here. I ain't touching nothing.
You got us here. My job's done.
I mean, you could assist with piloting by like flying closer to the center and doing a search pattern.
There she is. All right.
I got us here. It's your problem now.
I mean, yeah, I would set up a search pattern.
Yeah, no, I assume.
Then you go ahead and roll to assist.
It just comes down to
Who wants to roll?
what we need to roll.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Science reason?
Roll on.
Science and reason would be the ideal role for if you're going to have Jisa piloting a role, a thing there, then it would be either control. I suppose you could do daring if you wanted to get really close, and con.
Well, you can assist with a different attribute than you're rolling for the main role. So O'Connor can do the main role, and then
I was saying that Jisa can do control or daring. For O'Connor, it would be either reason, probably reason and science. So, and really any combination you can come up with a good reason for is what you can roll.
Okay. As far as this might be a stretch. I know this is a stretch. Jisa has a focus in warp fields. I don't know how warp and slipstream in this universe relate, but could I use that, tying my knowledge of that into the sensor scan to pilot us towards subspace ruptures caused by a slipstream explosion?
No, I'm going to say no.
Okay. It was a stretch. Okay. No focus is 1 die. There you go. One more success.
So 3 successes. You only needed 2. So you have enough I can answer some questions, and you guys don't have a whole lot of momentum. So what you're finding is it does appear to be whatever caused the rupture here, whatever caused I shouldn't say rupture, there's no rupture. Whatever caused the disruption, it did originate here, and it did originate in a section of subspace that is consistent with the slipstream drive. However, it does not appear to have been the destruction of a ship. It is much more consistent with a much higher yield. It looks like it may be a weaponized version of a slipstream drive.
Well, that's a thing.
Kova will stand at the console and go, "My God, they built a bomb, and I want one.
I need 3 of them."
Yeah,
exactly 3.
Yeah.
If this is a weapon they've built, it's one of the most destructive weapons I've ever seen. The Federation has accords preventing very such weaponization of technology like this. This could have destroyed the system if used appropriately.
Well,
and it obviously had implications far beyond. This is not a technology anybody should be pursuing.
Well, we're a long way from the Federation. Whoever built it didn't have to play by our rules.
No. We should gather what data we can.
I'll see if I can bring up a weapons profile. Perhaps we can figure out what it may have. Perhaps we can, if I can bring up its destructive potential and cross-reference it with certain technologies, maybe I can trace it back to whatever culture may have made it.
I can fly about and try to find the epicenter of this explosion. If that area of space hasn't been too contaminated or ruptured because of it, that could help your calculations.
Oh, that'd be swell.
Do we know, Jeff, of any other cultures using the slipstream technology, or as far as we're aware, is it unique to the Hadal?
As far as you're aware, there are other cultures who have pursued the technology, but none have ever had significant usage of it. Like no one uses it but the Hadal, as far as you're aware.
So could I do a roll to confirm that this is a Hadal weapon?
Yep.
Okay. Can I do security since I'm creating a weapons profile?
Sure.
Okay.
And then if someone wants to assist, I think it would be a good one for Gisa to assist in.
How does Copa not have a focus in bombs?
Yeah.
Next time you get a good arc point.
Yeah, I was going to say for all the times that we've had to tell Koba, no, you can't have that explosive. He should.
Yeah.
Koba has a specialization in bombs. Mills has a specialization in keeping Koba away from bombs.
Here's one. Does my focus in forensics apply?
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It's a forensics breakdown of what you're doing.
Sure. I'll go ahead and spend a momentum. 1.
So 2, 3, 4. Difficulty was 2, so you've got 2 momentum. You also have the 1 momentum before if you guys want to use that to ask questions. So you have right now 3 questions you can ask. You do identify that this is at least primarily Hadal technology. There is some indicators of there's a heavy abundance of chronoton particles near where the epicenter of the thing happened. Those are not consistent with anything you know as far as Hadal technology goes. The levels that you have there would be consistent with a ship that was destroyed, possibly while cloaked.
Okay. I would like to spend one of those momentum. Is it the commander ship, the Chancellor Marines?
Oh no, absolutely not. No, the Hadal do not have cloak as far as you know.
Okay.
Whatever ship was there was also probably destroyed.
Sure. Okay.
Even a destroyed ship, even a destroyed cloak ship leaves behind debris.
Yeah.
Right.
Behind debris.
Can we analyze that?
At the moment, you do not identify. You are unable to identify any significant debris. Although I will say that with 1 momentum, you can find essentially what is microparticles of debris that is consistent with Romulan technology.
Interesting. Okay.
But so whatever was destroyed was destroyed.
Mm-hmm.
So are you saying that it is? Are you saying that it is both Hadal and Romulan, or
correct?
Okay.
As in a Romulan ship was here, and it is a Hadal weapon, or it is at least a weapon that is using Hadal technology.
Gotcha. Okay. So it looks like a Romulan ship was destroyed by a Hadal weapon.
Correct. Or Hadal technology at the very least.
Okay. Great. Well, that is important information. I think we've got what we came for.
You do have one more if you want to use it.
Is there any way to tell if the destruction... I'm going to guess no, but I'm going to ask anyway. Is there any way to tell if the destruction was extrinsic to the Romulan ship or intrinsic? Like, was the Romulan ship using slipstream technology, or was there a weapon that destroyed the ship?
Whatever, based on the amount of destruction and where the epicenter is and where the bulk of the debris, quote unquote debris, is, whatever it is was either inside the Romulan ship or impacted directly on the ship. It's hard to tell, a couple of meters difference, but within the margin of error, it was either inside the ship or it impacted on the surface of the ship. There's no other way beyond that to tell, although, no, there would be. The debris is definitely in a more circular pattern than as if it would have been hit one-sided. One side would be debris would go in one direction. This is debris going in all directions.
So very likely inside.
Yes, and it was clearly fairly close to the moon, which is why the moon is no longer there, and it has thrown the entire planet off orbit. So whatever this is did a significant amount of damage in this area, and then whatever it did outside of the area, obviously, as well.
So
where are we in comparison to Romulan space?
You're probably about equal to Romulan and Federation, might be slightly closer to Romulan space, but it's pretty close to between both. Like if you look at the map, I think I can show you the map real quick. See if I can bop you guys over to the map. Here's the Expanse. And then I put you guys on the Expanse. That should bring you over to the map, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. So this this loop of space right here, the K-47s and all that area, that's roughly where you're at. So it's between, it's unclaimed Federation space. There is Federations, like Romulans could get there from either without traveling through Federation space, but it's not super far away, but it's not super close. You know what I'm saying?
Where are we? Can you ping that?
You're right about here, probably.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Oh, okay. So we're okay.
So the destroyed world is somewhere right over here, right on the edge of Federation space.
Gotcha.
All right. I think we've gotten all the information we need, but does anybody else have any idea? Anything else we should do here?
You are out of questions, but
yeah,
you can do whatever else you want to do here.
I just meant I think we should head back. Unless anybody else has any other things they want to do.
Okay. With that, let's go ahead and get into the SSH, the EMH, and the EVA have managed to complete replication. Man, I'm getting caught in my throat. It's killing me. You can
hydrate.
I do need to hydrate. I've been drinking a lot of water. It's funny, like around 9:30, this room gets really hot, and it's weird.
Odd.
It's weird. And Laura was complaining about it the other day when she was doing a stream game too. I think it's the lights.
Yeah.
Also, there's 3 screens here and technology everywhere. It's a hot spot. So anyway, you have completed the replicator build. Using the biometric gel, you can begin replicating the organs. It take a couple hours, which we can then finish up the engineering roll. We'll grab a water. Be right back.
I will take advantage of grab water as well.
In the meantime, give me a medicine and
I will not take advantage. I will stay right here. A medicine and who roll? Medicine and something.
Medicine and something.
Medicine and something.
Whatever medicine you think applies.
I'm going to assume alternative medicine will work on this one, at least. I'm going to use focus. I'm going to spend that last momentum.
No, it's killing me.
What?
Nothing.
No dying. Stop dying. Jeffrey, am I making the?
I have
the
returned.
Are you? Am I making the big surgery roll? Or am I making the?
This is the This is making the replication roll to determine. This roll will help determine the difficulty of the actual surgery.
Okay.
So if you succeed in this roll, excuse me, you'd be able to use the momentum to lower the difficulty of the next roll. Your base difficulty is going to be 4, though, and your complication range is going to be 4 as well.
Okay. So alternative medicine probably wouldn't apply here, but with xenobiology.
I would actually let either one work because you're doing something that is not normally being done. So that would work as that. And then obviously since they're aliens, that would also apply.
Right. Okay. I will take that.
Eva can assist, or the SSH can assist if he wants to. I don't know why he would, but
yeah, just in the fabrication of the technology needed to do it. Yeah, he can draw on some Halloran technology, maybe get a bit more efficiency out of it.
Sure.
Would you call that control engineering?
Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. I made my focus very, very specific in that it is weapon maintenance and repair. So I assume that's not going to help here.
No. Unless you want to weaponize somebody's liver.
Yeah, weaponized liver. Well, that's another one success.
All right, so you have 2 additional momentum. You can lower the difficulty of the next roll, or the complication range. Both are going to be 5. So, which do you want to roll? Which or both do you want to reduce for the actual surgery itself?
Let's lower the difficulty
By 1 or 2.
Let's do it by
2. So, difficulty will be 3, and your complication range will be 5. Let's jump to engineering real quick and finish that roll, and then we come back to the surgery.
That makes it 15 and up.
Yeah.
For the let's
16 and up it should be.
16 and up.
Because 15 and down.
16 and up.
Yeah, because 15 and down is success, and 16 and up is 15 and up. 15 and down is the maximum success you can have, and 16 and up is the maximum complication you can have.
Okay.
You can't overlap,
right.
Which is sad, actually. Because a success with complication would be fun. Like getting a success and a complication on the same die could be fun.
Yeah.
For engineering, you have 2 momentum. Difficulty is 1. You need 2 magnitude and 3 work. Who's going to make that roll?
I think Tom should.
Okay. Are we still on the second gate, deuterium?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, he can play around with that. Ensign Yezbeth did send him down to do something, so I guess this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. We are not working on the EPS anymore, so I don't think I really have a focus, but 2 dice, what are we looking at?
Coster will come. It's a learning experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's go ahead and use that momentum. See if we can generate some more. This is a low difficulty.
You could generate threat. Jeff has no threat.
Yeah, give him some threat.
That version doesn't exist. I used it. There's only one, right?
There was only one. Oh, did you
use that?
So there is no momentum.
Okay.
I wasn't
well, then take a threat.
All right.
Yeah.
So that adds 1. You guys have this giant batch, this giant momentum here still too. That somebody paid for. That I think Evelyn.
I'm using that shit.
Yeah, we're going to use that for the big roll. You. Yeah. Okay. Cool. For success. Anyone helping out?
Coster can. Coster will try walking you through it via comm. So.
Or is assisting on his end.
Yeah.
It's regulating flows, so.
He'll boot it up as soon as it gets going.
Okay. Go ahead and make your roll.
Yep.
There it is, 0. Coaster is of no effect. So you have 4 successes. Difficulty was 2. Difficulty was 1. Sorry. So you have 3 momentum.
And we generate an extra 2 momentum. I had that written down.
Yep. So you have 5 total. And then you go ahead and make your work. What were you going to say?
Plus the difficulty is lower.
Yeah, I counted that already.
Mhm.
Okay, great.
So you have 4.
Yuck.
You have 4 successes because that counts as 4. That counts as 4 work, and 4 of them they're also 4 effects. So if you have anything you can do with your effects,
you can spend momentum to re-roll those.
you can.
Yeah, I think I might do that because that is a yucky roll.
Okay. So you have 4 momentum left.
Okay, so I will re-roll that.
Much better.
Much better.
So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. With 3 effects. You can lower your resistance by 1, correct? Or that was your it was a talent, right?
That's a talent. Yeah, so that should apply.
So you can reduce that and still have 8.
And well, reducing it is one effect, and then I can use the other 2 effects for work, right?
Only if you have a talent for that.
Oh.
Yeah. Yezebeth had the talent.
Gotcha.
You can use the other momentum for that. You have 4 momentum left that could do that, but you don't need to because you've already got. You're going to hit 15 work already.
Okay, so that satisfies the work we need, and will that satisfy the magnitude?
Yes, because because the way it works, you've got more than 5.
Mm-hmm.
So that counts as 1 magnitude, and you've exceeded the magnitude of 15, so that counts as 1 magnitude. That's 2 magnitudes. That's how many you needed was 2. So you have succeeded in completing the deuterium thing. You did it in 4 hours. And you have 4 momentum that are just afloat. Although I think only 3 of them can actually be saved because one of them was from a different task.
Yeah, bonus momentum cannot be saved.
Okay,
but you can save 3 if you want.
Can we do anything with that bonus?
You can make it cooler. You could basically you'd be able to use it to speed up the restart process if you wanted to.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
We'll do that. Yeah.
With those, how many do you want to use? All 4? Just 1, 3? I'll say
I'd say just the one we can't bank.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll take off an hour of restart time.
Okay.
So you're down to 2 hours to restart rather than 3.
All right.
And you guys don't need to actually roll in the 3rd one unless you want to do it way faster. But it's just a thing that you just do it.
We're not pressed for time, so I think we'll let it go.
So in 2 hours, Coaster lets the captain basically know that in 2 hours you'll have warps. In 6 hours you'll have warp speed. I'll get it done in 2, or something along those lines.
Yeah. He'll call the captain and he'll say, "You know why I'm your favorite engineer? It's because I get shit done. Engines will be online in 2 hours."
Very good work.
Oh, laddie, you've got a lot to learn if you want people to think you as a miracle worker.
All things go to the ensigns. They're the ones who carried the lion's share.
Very well. I will mark them down as one closer to relieving you of your position.
That'll be the day. Toast a lot.
It'll be the Thursday. All right. So the ship is pretty much, the rest of the repairs are all minor systems. Once the warp is online, you'll have main power back online, which means you'll have your primary weapons back online. You still won't have torpedoes, but that's next. And that was something that the SSH was going to work on anyway. You get 3 of these one, not 2. There we go. And probably by the time warp engines are online, torpedoes will probably be back online too. So you'll have the vast majority of your systems will be up. Might not have holodecks yet.
My intention was once we were capable of doing so, that we would set out for the other ships that were making distress calls.
Right.
Of course, now we have a gigantic Hidali ship looming.
Yes.
Outside.
They probably at this exact moment probably will not appreciate you leaving.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if it's a question of hours, we'll stay put. But if it's a question of weeks in stasis,
no, we're gonna give a try here, and we're gonna give a roll here shortly. So it'll have been a grand total of probably looking at about 10 hours total. Before the surgery actually happens, though, you do get all your systems back on, all your main systems back online. So that happens prior to the surgery. Back in medbay, well, actually, I know they wouldn't be back yet. So back in medbay, the two doctors are prepared. They tell you that we're probably only Dr. Onayat, we are likely to only get one shot at this.
Understood.
If this doesn't succeed, we would very much. I would like you to build in an extreme safety margin. The opportunity to put the patient back in stasis prior to doing any significant damage during the surgery would be preferable to going so far as to pass the point of no return if we see any complications.
I think that's a fair ask.
I should suppose we begin then.
Delphine will be standing to the side, hands up with the gloves, ready to assist.
All right. The ship will get an assist as well because Europa do that. And you guys, I believe, have advanced medical bays.
Yep.
You do not.
Is there any way I could use my captaininess to impress upon the doctor the sheer importance of this this operation they are doing?
I think you can.
How much do you need to?
I think you can give her a determination.
I do believe that I can use my commanding officer role to give you a determination
I think you can
towards it.
I'd like to hear that conversation if you have one in mind, like a nice little like inspirational speech to give her the.
Yeah. So I think now that the captain is not attached to his command chair anymore, he's actually going to come down and observe the surgery and make his presence known, just so the any Hidali representatives there know that this is important to him and to Starfleet as well.
Can we say, just for the sake of aesthetics, that we have a surgery theater,
an operating theater?
Yeah, absolutely.
I assume we do.
There is one, absolutely, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
And I would make sure to have obviously before Dasavi scrubs up or anything, but as you are getting ready to get this procedure underway, Ambrose will approach. Doctor, I don't think I need to impress upon you the importance of your work here today. Look about the theater. We're having our own conversation, but as much as our own conversation can be, like, we're at the door of everybody else in the theater.
Mm-hmm. Meaning if someone needed to interject.
Meaning it's a show.
Yeah.
Right.
I gotcha.
I am giving this speech mostly for them.
Yes.
Not mostly for Dasavi, except for the inspiration and importance of this.
Right.
I believe we've all been made aware during her short time here that Dr. Joanne is an important asset, not only to Hidali civilization, but to the advancement of technology as a whole. It would be a detriment to galactic civilization if her death would be untimely. I know you will do everything within your power to make sure that whatever happens is the natural course of things. I hope you've utilized the resources and personnel of this ship as best you can to see this done. And I have confidence that there is no other doctor in Starfleet who could handle the importance and difficulty. If it was my life on the line here, I would gladly place it, and you're competent. in your competent medical hands. See to it. I'll be right outside. And I'm sure everybody on either side of whatever politics here understands that you're the best doctor for this, and you will do everything in your power
Of course.
to save life. Thank you, doctor. Best of luck.
I will say that Nyala is probably in the waiting room as well. Not obviously can't be back here where you guys are doing surgery, but her and Alira and John will all be sitting in the waiting room. So
at some point between all of the running about and politicking and comforting and replicating, Dasavi would have taken a moment in her quarters to pray to Betazoid pantheon and do her own meditation to prepare.
Drink from the chalice of Riggs.
Yeah, I would love to hear more about Betazoid. What you're praying to.
I would love to do that for you, except I have not done my research, so I cannot help you right now.
It's a thing we can do in the future.
There's nothing in the lore. Just make something up.
Yeah.
There is though. I've done enough
Oh.
looking that there is lore.
There's the chalice of Riggs and the holy rings of Betazoid and all that stuff. I don't know much.
Yeah, there's the holy rings, and that, yeah, but I don't think they've ever said like what the religion is.
Yeah,
There is some that's laid out. I think probably in some supplemental stuff.
Okay.
I don't want to bring the wrath of the Star Trek nerds
Go ahead.
down on my head.
It's something we could actually explore if we're showing that Dasavi has any kind of religious connotation or religious bend. It's something we could definitely explore in the future too.
Yeah, we'd love to explore that more. I think it's sure.
In the meantime, go ahead and make your final fateful roll.
All right, we are using that giant momentum.
Okay.
All right.
I will say that counts as. Let's go ahead and err on the side of 3 momentum.
Okay. That's 2 extra dice.
Then you can spend the 3 non and give it another extra dice.
Yes, you could.
So I can only roll a total of 5, right?
You can only roll a total of 5 dice.
Okay.
Oh yeah. No. I thought you said
That includes the determination.
Right.
Yeah. So you're actually now rolling all your dice, right? Because you've got 3. The determination counts as 1 plus the 2 you would normally roll. That's 5.
Yeah.
About that. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Which is good because you may need those momentum to stop your surgery and save the patient's life.
Right.
Your difficulty is 3. Your complication range is 5.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I presume the alternative medicine and or xenobiology apply here.
Yes, and they would really both apply, but you can only use one at a time. So
right. Right. Nice.
And then I believe Daphne can do an assist.
Yeah, would my internal medicine apply?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, complication.
You can re-roll one of those dice.
I will re-roll on those dice.
Well, still have a complication because Brian rolled 1.
Yeah. Look.
The ship will also roll.
Complications are fun.
Yeah.
Didn't we determine mine gives a re-roll?
Yours lowered the difficulty.
That's right. So still no successes, but we get rid of that one of those complications.
One of the complications is gone. So you are succeeding in the procedure. Things are going smoothly as far as they can, as far as the surgery itself is concerned. However, one of the doctors promptly points out she is experiencing rapid neurological deterioration. If we continue, I believe she will become brain dead in approximately 5 minutes. They look at you.
Daphne will I assume like there may be a microphone to like the gallery.
Sure.
Delphine will, computer, turn off the microphone. And then she'll say to Dr. Onia, we could save one life or the other. If she were to die on this table, it would save John's life.
Let's
the
pause
other,
here.
the Hadali doctors are in the room with us.
They are?
They were assisting.
Yes.
Oh, never mind. I wanted to say
and
that.
also, we did succeed on this task. There's a complication, but we succeeded on our goal of saving the patient.
Saving the patient's life, yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
She is alive.
But she will be brain dead.
There is a potential for the complication right now is brain dead.
Well, if we succeed in saving her life and the complication is she dies, that seems kind of...
She's still alive.
Brain dead. Right.
We're not done yet. We can still do more stuff.
Okay.
So
can I using the value of with great risk comes great reward, spend my own determination?
You can only spend one determination per roll.
Yeah, one determination per roll. However, you do have 3 momentum here.
Okay.
So there are things you can do with the 3 momentum, including, I believe, you can do a second action because you have enough. You'd be working rapidly to do another one. That requires 2. I think I just lost where track it was.
It costs
Swift
2 momentum to remove a complication. There you go.
Oh, well, there we go.
It does. Yeah, there you go. 2 remove a complication.
All right.
Okay. Well, that makes that easy. So we can just remove that complication.
Right.
Yep.
So with looking at the research the data we've collected from Hadali and the other experimental procedures that she has done, both in her time as normal Starfleet and in the Dominion War, where you really had to think on your feet. He will find a way to
apply the corticosteroid stimulators and
shore up those degrading pathways and reconnect them.
You start doing the essentially the neuro pathway reconstruction using the various technologies that Starfleet has, since you do have exceptionally advanced medical capabilities. And it appears as though by the end of the surgery, the other 2 doctors are satisfied with the the present result. Yeah, I just drank my water too fast. Trying to get rid of that tickle in my throat. It appears as though you have succeeded in stabilizing the patient with the organs, and her neural pathways appear to be intact. Now it is just a matter of she wakes up and time goes by and everything else. Healing and recovery time. So you've done all you can do. I do have a threat, but I can't think of what I can do with it. So I want to screw you, but I can't. Not yet, anyway. Whilst the surgery is ongoing, the captain gets a notification from the shuttle system, the shuttle bays, that the runabout has returned. So they will be able to give information once it is available, once they decide to.
You're good. Write up your report and send it over when it's ready.
After a few hours of waiting, post-surgery, there's a lot of tension and sometimes the little life insurance meter goes down really low and then comes back up and then goes way down. That was one of the meters on the old original series. That was funny. Anyway, after several hours of that, tensions are high, and you get a message from. Oh no, I won't do that yet. After a few hours, the tension's high. Everything is going as best as it can, and Dr. Juan eventually opens her eyes and looks around, and I assume the first person she would see would be either Delphine, the captain, or the doctor. What happened?
Welcome back. The ship was hit with some sort of energy wave, and you were severely injured. Thanks to the flexibility of your chancellor and the extreme talent of your own doctors, as well as in conjunction with Federation Innovation and Technology, you are now the proud owner of a whole new set of organs. How do you feel?
I don't really know. Grateful?
I meant physically, but good to know.
I feel like I was hit by a large energy wave and nearly died.
Accurate.
Actually, you were hit by one of the bulkheads in my what do they call it? In my ready room. Fortunately, I softened the blow a little bit for you.
I don't know what that means. Is everyone else all right? Is my crew all right? My team?
They are.
Well,
John very nearly lost his life, but was saved.
well, I am extremely grateful.
As am I.
I'm glad that no one is. Oh my gosh. I remember. Captain, I'm glad you survived as well. You can see her processing like what was going on.
I've been hit by worse.
I can't say I have. When can I get up and get out of here?
Oh, whenever you're feeling up to it, take it slow. May take some time for you to acclimate. You've had a string of new experiences.
Mm.
In the meantime, if you're up for it, I can hail your, I can call your chancellor. You can debrief and give you some privacy if you like.
Of course. I suspect she's very concerned.
She is.
Was not. I suspect she was very abrupt.
That is a word for it.
Captain,
she cares about you very deeply. You are clearly very important.
as they will keep reminding me. Captain, I had harsh words for you before this began, and I don't know how many of them I said, but any that I did, I feel I simply said in a moment of heat, and I apologize.
We've all been put through an ordeal. We'll have more time once this all settles once we're all back on our feet and our facilities are repaired, we can, as I said before, have a longer conversation about our two peoples and how we can benefit mutually, not just scientifically.
I hope so.
I will leave the details, the intricacies of what happened in the past day or so to you, Chancellor, the team here. But I would impress upon you that and I'm sure you don't hold this regard yourself, but there's value in everybody. And that value shouldn't necessarily be quantified when compared to each other. I'm not portraying this as well as I would like. I'm running on half my own organs.
Perhaps we both should get some rest.
I, as well as many of my team, have seen a lot of inspiring qualities from the Hidali that were brought aboard this ship. And not the least of which from young John. I actually don't know much about your societal structure, but I think there is something to that kid. I think it would benefit both of you, perhaps even more, to give him a chance. See the potential that he has.
I think I understand.
I should leave you to rest.
I should let the Chancellor know that I am well. Thank you again, Captain and Doctor.
Of course. We take right, my words are starting to go. Life is incredibly important, as the captain said, all life. And despite any of our cultural differences, standing by idly and letting one life fade when it doesn't have to is not the Federation way, and it's not my way. When she said, as they keep reminding me, in reference to her import to society,
Mm-hmm.
How did she feel?
Taxed. I think my camera went back to being super wide angle. I don't know why. Yeah, definitely a sense of living with the fame kind of thing, a taxation. So,
okay.
All right. with that, do you want to have anything else you guys want to do? You want to give that report about the stuff found? Is that something you guys wanted to do tonight, or do you want to move on and call it a night?
I don't think we necessarily need to play out the report. We can.
I think O'Connor has things to share in that report.
It's up to you guys.
I mean, then maybe O'Connor should be the one to report it to the captain.
That's fine.
Sure.
Yeah. We don't hear a lot from O'Connor.
No.
Do not.
All right. Gonna go to the captain's ready room for this one. I'm assuming the captain has the base report. When you go to give him any of your commentary on the
pad.
report.
Yeah. O'Connor is an ensign?
Correct.
Yeah. Okay.
For now.
Ensign, I've gotten your preliminary report. Is there anything you have to add?
She is standing at attention, but keeps absently wringing her hands and then standing back at attention.
At ease, Ensign. Take a seat.
When John was explaining the Alira's theory that that something like this energy wave could happen if a ship were to explode in slipstream, it seemed like perhaps this was an accident. Something had overpowered, overclocked, whatever. But and I didn't put this in the report, sir, because it's it's only a theory, and if it's a big accusation. What if they were working with the Romulans as well and installing the same technology on their ships, and it was intentional? And they've done the same to us, and we're just sitting on a time bomb and we don't know.
Well, I can at least put that last remark at ease. We did not get any modifications, and those modifications didn't have anything to do with a slipstream drive. Nor do I believe any of our Federation ships were offered slipstream technology. We were augmenting our sensors and computer systems, I believe. As for the Romulans, the Hidali are free to pursue relations with any of the species they come into, and we do have our own relations with the Romulans, as ill-defined as they are at the moment. Since they were not offering us slipstream technology unless there was a significant gain from the Romulans, I would be hesitant to assume that they were being granted slipstream technology. That does not mean that there is not some other cause for concern. This is not a technology the Romulans have ever, to our knowledge, been able to utilize in any meaningful capacity.
No, and if they weren't given the technology but tried to reproduce it or reverse engineer it, maybe they blew themselves up.
We've had enough complications with our new Hidali neighbors. I don't think we need to exacerbate those by chasing such a conspiracy. I welcome the theory and the caution, though.
Thank you.
Is there anything else?
Nothing.
and good work. Dismissed.
Thank you, sir. We will. Get a link.
All right. That seems like a good place to stop.
Yeah.
So, with all that out of the way, what moment stands out most to you this evening?
Surgery.
What was that, Brian?
I was just going to say, no, Brian, go.
No, go ahead.
You got set that a lot today, Brian. That's what I was going to
right.
ask you first.
The surgery went well. I like that scene. It was a fun scene to end on, as far as like the dramatic climax.
Sure.
Yeah.
Jack, you had something?
I was just going to say this was a very Dasavi heavy episode. This was a Dasavi centric episode.
Yes.
And there's always those, every now and then you get, an episode of Star Trek. I'm specifically thinking TNG, where the camera mostly follows around a single crewman. And I felt like this was very much Dasavi's episode. And I really enjoyed every part of that. I think the conversations with Alara, John's mother, were Alira, were really good conversations. Kind of once again, very much like the captain, but in Dasavi's own very different twist, balancing diplomacy and her own ethics, and then the counterbalance of Alira, in understanding that her own moral and ethical take from her society's point of view. Is it really a choice? How can I, no matter how much I care, be the one to condemn Space Einstein?
Right. Or her son.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. It was an impossible decision.
Yeah.
And I think Dasavi in multiple, or I should say, in multiple instances, really hit all of that.
Yeah. I really liked the conversation between Alira and Dasavi, and I liked the conversation between the Chancellor as well. I had fun playing those characters.
Mm-hmm.
I like the fact that it was contrasting yet still kind of on the same page. That was hard for me to come up with how I was going to do that. So I did have an answer for what Alira was going to do if things went poorly. And I'm glad I didn't have to choose. I was not looking forward to that.
There were so many different avenues I was going down.
Yeah. I had a whole thing planned out. Like, all right, if this happens, I'm going to do this next. Well, going forward, and if I do this is going to happen. If the players do this is going to happen.
I was waiting for Secret Agent Tong to get even the slightest whiff of this, but throughout these last 4 games, Tong has had no realization of any of this political mumbo jumbo. He's just been down in engineering, making sure the ship doesn't explode.
Yeah. Some of the stuff will play into a Secret Agent episode that's coming up, actually. So, who best embodied their character in this session? I mean, a lot of it was focused on Dasavi, but does anyone
just want to call it that moment? I really liked Dasavi having a religious moment, and I would love to drill in on that further.
Yeah. If I have some homework.
Yeah.
I looked it up. There's literally just things called the 4 deities. That's it.
Right. Just any more conversation. I think I'll say that one for the what would you like to change. Anyone else have a best embodied their character kind of situation moment thing?
I very much enjoyed getting to see Delphine. Really, the innovation, we talked about it last time too. I really, really love that innovation of hooking the captain up to his chair.
Yeah.
And getting to see her snark in a outside of the I have a chip on my shoulder way that she's been snarking.
Right. I liked the sass between her and the cat.
The back and forth. Yeah.
That was fun.
Ambrose was dealing with a lack of what's the term for lack
Blood?
of oxygen. He was slightly hypoxic for a little bit there, so he got a little snarky.
Yeah. The captain's hypoxia makes him a believable human being.
If he likes it better that way, she might just make sure that he was always short of some blood.
Just mess with the lung, turn down the oxygen output on his artificial lung.
Yeah.
You're setting at 75, but it's totally fine.
Yeah. What? Oh, I won't do that one. That's a question that we don't really work for this group. Yeah, I don't know. What did you see from another player or character that you want to see more of in the future? Brian obviously said he wants to see more of the religious stuff with the Savi.
Yeah.
I liked seeing, and I would like to see more of. I really liked Koba's enthusiasm for finding that there's a weapon here and that this has. You had this hint in your voice, like, yes, I want this bomb, but also they should not have this bomb. We need to do a thing about them. They should not have this. I don't know if you intended it that way or not, but there was definitely a hint of like responsibility and Starfleet thought in there for a second.
Yeah, he's mostly joking when he says he wants a big bomb for blow up systems. Right. But yeah,
he's always joking until you say yes.
Uh-huh.
So I liked that. Anybody else got one?
I liked Koba being the diplomatic envoy.
Yeah.
Time and place, man. Time and place.
I do. Yeah. So I'm gonna tell them about this. Go screw yourself kind of moment that they can do to you, and we'll go to war over this. We're willing to do that. Right. Koba's more than happy to go to war right now.
Dear diary, today I started a war.
Gets him a bomb. I liked it. I thought it was good.
Mm-hmm. No, it was great. I loved it.
If you could change one thing, unless you got something, you got anything for that, Jack? For that question? What would you see? What would you want to see from another player or character? This is like if you're in Stars and Wishes, what's the wish from another? What you like to see from another player?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it comes back to, once again, I think Dasavi is slowly falling into the number one role. And with the captain confined to his chair for a bit there, I think we saw a lot of that today, and I think it would be interesting to see more of that going forward.
So what you're saying is we're almost ready to kill off Ambrose.
Yeah, we can all play captain for a little bit.
Yeah.
I also really like that last scene with O'Connor coming to the captain, because we haven't really seen anything major from O'Connor before. I feel like O'Connor's lacked any sort of
substance.
Not necessarily substance, but any sort of confidence in vocalizing her own character.
Sure.
So I enjoyed that she came to the captain.
I feel like O'Connor had a lot more going on in season 1 and earlier stuff, but I agree. Like all of this season, there hasn't been a ton from O'Connor. She's been kind of just background, which she's supposed to be background. She's a background character, but
well, and she with her anxiety, she's a background character, and she makes herself background.
Right.
She is very content to hang out in the library with Eva, and like my headcanon is like O'Connor and Tong probably have a pretty legit relationship, because they're whenever Tong's not in the transporter room or in engineering, they're both in the library with Eva.
Right. All right. If you could change one thing about this session, what would it be? I had something a minute ago and I forgot what it was, so I'll come back to that for me.
I felt like everything fell into place a little too neatly.
You guys can't fail rolls. Like this whole session, you guys didn't fail a single roll, so.
I know.
And you only got.
Well, that's not true. We did fail rules. We just happened to have the momentum at hand to fix the failure.
I threw complications at when I could, like just free willy.
I know you did.
But
willy-nilly?
I think that actually is something I would have changed, because it was that final surgery, that complication. Well, we saved the patient, but your complication was she's going to be brain dead.
Sure.
So we didn't really succeed if failure was she's dead and complication is she's dead. So I think a different complication, because I love complications. I love complications. So if that complication was something more feasible and something more narratively interesting, I think that could have added a lot more to the story than me frantically going, okay, how can we stop this?
Sure.
Because
so there were two options that I had for you guys to, I had forgotten the other option. I'd forgotten that I knew there was a thing you could do with momentum that you could stop it.
Mm-hmm.
The idea of being alive but not having a functioning brain is another thing that would have, the complication wasn't that she was brain dead. The complication was what comes when the Hidal find out that she's brain dead. That's the real complication for that one. So the idea that she's alive, technically she's alive, it succeeded. The body lives, even though the mind doesn't. That to me is a whole moral argument in and of itself. But also, I left the door open for you. Spend the momentum, and you can put her back in stasis until you can find another thing. She's now stable. You can either give her back to them, or you can continue to find another solution later. And my thought was that she would go back, and they would find a solution at some point, or you would find a solution at some point, whatever. But the idea was that there would be that moment of, this isn't working. What do we do? But the organ succeeded, and so on and so forth. And really, with this, I don't know what the other complication would be medically at that point, because it had to be a medical complication, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could have just like said she's going into free fall, and we could have done a scene where like.
I mean, that's basically what it was. It was just mental free fall rather than bodily free fall.
Maybe we should have just played it out more.
Yeah.
There was some sort of damage, either physical or physiological or neurological, that made her aphasic.
Well, yeah.
I think, unfortunately, in my mind, at the very least, succeeding the role didn't mean that, yes, her physical body lives. Yeah. Succeeding the role means we have successfully navigated this dilemma by, fixing the problem.
Sure.
So if the complication was the problem is not fixed, that means, we succeeded, but also we failed. So why did we bother succeeding?
Sure.
It can be tricky to come up with complications like that,
especially on the fly. Like, because I didn't really have one in mind for that, because I wasn't sure how far we were going to get with the doing the replicating of organs and stuff. Because technically, that's not something Starfleet actually has the technology to do per the show. Like, you can do it, but it's one of those things where that's why the difficulty was so high, is because it's not really a Federation thing. You have broken significant ground by doing this.
I think an interesting complication could have been, as Ev said, that she would develop. It would become evident later on that she developed some sort of mental condition, aphasia, or maybe lost memory, temporary or permanently, or had some other like nerve damage or something.
Right. And in a reoccurring character, that's an absolutely good thing to do. But if we're wrapping this up and we're not going to see this character again.
Sure.
I don't know if we're going to see this character again or not. I don't plan to see this character again, but that doesn't mean it couldn't happen. And I suppose I could write another episode about that, but I don't know what that would. That's one of those things where it would be a complication that would never really necessarily be seen.
This is all valid.
Absolutely.
This isn't what I meant, though. I will say, I suppose I just meant more. It seemed a pretty cut and dry dilemma. It could have used a little more of a chaos element, something.
The overall dilemma.
The overall dilemma, yeah. Like something.
There was plenty of chaos in it.
It's cut and dry because we're on camera and there's
sure. Okay.
We're who we are, but like if you're watching this kind of situation and like so the other complication that I was going to have was if we hadn't, ideally, if I'm writing everything, I'm writing everybody's dialogue, I'm writing everybody's scenes, everything else. The complication is
Like
they go to the Lyra and them. You can't do anything. You can't fix it. You need to have their doctors, so on and so forth. And ideally, then Lyra decides, I'm not going to do it. She takes, she asks for diplomatic immunity or whatever, not immunity, but asylum. She takes asylum. The complication comes in now that when the father decides, but he's my son, and the legalities of their culture says, I'm willing to kill you to get him back because you've now stolen one of our citizens against his will. That's kind of where the long-term complication would come in, but that's not something that I was looking for ways to make that happen, but there really just wasn't an opportunity to push that narrative the way I wanted to.
Sure. I would have loved to see them try to take her from us. Like, I would have loved, a hallway phaser fight, or them powering up phasers.
I can't see how that ends in. You're not wrong. I don't see how that can't end in a way that she ever gets to go back. That they ever get to have they now have to stay at that point, right? They can't go back.
Why would
you have to? Why would they want to go back?
Why wouldn't they be able to go back?
Well, because they basically started a war with the Federation at that point. You guys, there's no way this crew, from my estimation of the way you guys have played your characters in the past, there's no way they fire on someone on the ship, this doesn't end in tears.
Right.
Yeah, and that's kind of disappointing. I will say that's kind of a disappointing thing about this group, is I feel like it doesn't leave that little adventuresome wiggle room wherein you can solve problems without them turning into absolute clusterfuck.
I think that's a problem with role-playing groups in general. I don't think it's tantamount. I don't think it's just this group. I think that's a thing that happens that is a very much a role player mentality. It's win or lose for most players. That Pyrrhic victory is hard for players to accept. So I'm not opposed. I think you're not. I don't think you're wrong. I like the idea. I love the idea. From a realistic standpoint of what I thought I could get out of the player group, I don't think I'd try that in any player group, because I don't think it would ever end particularly well. Mostly because my players would always just be like, I murder them, and then I shoot them. It would
have given us a chance to try and do peace with them. We could have negotiated them, stand down, and we could have done some social roles, which we don't get to do very often.
Yeah, we don't do a lot of social roles.
I was actually waiting for that. I think it out of any episode we've done before, this was probably the best opportunity to do that, because the ship was not in this, Ambrose could only take that so far without going so far of, because we were no match for the other ship, I'm sure. And not in the state we were in. So I think that could have been a time to press something like that, because Ambrose couldn't just say, okay, red alert, we're going to duke this out.
Right. Yeah.
I was actually waiting for that.
Yeah. It's a possibility. Like I said, though, my mind never really went to that, just because that's my experience with players has, and it's not just you guys, it's my experience with players and role playing in general.
I'm just
and there were.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's why we do these feedbacks. Go ahead, F.
There were points that it could have trended in that direction had there been different character choices.
Yeah.
There was definitely that initial social conflict where Dasavi had to fight with herself to say, I will stand back and let you do your thing. I'm not going to stop you.
Right.
Because what she wanted to say was, fuck you.
Right.
You can get off my ship. I'm going to fix this problem.
Right. There was also never a point in any of, I think, at least not in Ambrose or Dasavi's, well, it's definitely not Dasavi's, portrayal that there was ever any consideration that their point of view might not have been 100,000% correct. Which is not to say that it isn't, because it certainly that's the choice that I wanted you guys to make. But it was very much like, and I will kill you to do this.
But I would say that Dasavi very much dictated the moral course that was charted throughout these last couple episodes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think if Dasavi wasn't there, or Dasavi was a different character, Ambrose could have. I think there's two problems. One is the IRL situation and timing of this episode.
Yes.
In that we could not, in any public facing good conscience, say anything other than bodily autonomy is necessary. Right. And I don't even, that shouldn't be expressed in a sarcastic way.
Yeah,
like that's not my intent.
Yeah.
But we could only, through our characters, and we as people are not our characters, but even taking that in mind, there's only so far we could push that towards compromise, or push that towards just letting it go. That kind of hampered us there.
Yes, that's one of the problems of a public forum game.
Yeah, but also in that when you have one character that says adamantly, I am not doing this, this cannot stand.
Right.
It kind of means that either everybody has to back up that character, or there's way more problems. And when that problem becomes an inter-party problem and not a party versus external force problem, it becomes a lot more difficult, and in my personal view, a lot more cumbersome, and at cases annoying and frustrating to actually
And unfortunately, that's one of those things that comes into, if you're writing the episode and watching the episode, you can have that conflict between Riker and Picard.
Yeah.
It's a lot harder to do here without knowing the story ahead of time.
I would have loved to see Dasavi talking to more people and getting like their opinions on the whole thing. Like,
I did want some more downtime. That's the other thing that I wanted to see. Not more downtime, but more like interpersonal moments. That was the thing that I wanted to see more of. Was I really wanted a chance to have another scene between Kostra and Nyala. Because I wanted to have another scene with that. I was trying to see if I could get Kostra to be a little bit more to have more of a position on the events going on.
I mean, you could. The thing was, I never felt like I had that opportunity because
I agree.
We were doing that extended task most of the.
I agree, and I believe that's the reason why I didn't go for another scene, was because I don't think either one of those two characters really had a chance to. Once the situation became, Joanne is injured, and now we're dealing with it. Neither Kostra nor the other character had really a lot of opportunity to come back into the scene with anything other than the little bit of context that they had.
And I purely blame myself for this. I really wish we'd had a scene between Dasavi and Oniat where we reflected on like the parallel between John and his mother. That would have been fun. And I wish I'd thought of it earlier in the session. That would have been fun.
It's one of those things where it's the telling a great story with tabletop is really it's fun to do, but man, you look back and like, man, if I could write this episode, this is how I would do it, and this is what these are the scenes I wish I could have, and this is what I wish a player would do. And that's it is the nature of the game. That's also why we do these after things here. So
now if you wanted more chaos, if Tong had gotten wind of any of this, because Tong kind of did connect a little bit with John, and I think Tong sees a lot of himself in John.
Sure.
So if Tong caught wind of any of this, there would have been something very similar to an Enterprise when Trip, took the progenitor kid or whatever it was called, not really kidnapping, but we're going to take you to this other part of the ship and not tell anybody about it.
Right. We're going to dislocate you from the rest of the crew.
I think we can all agree that maybe the next time something happens like this, we should definitely have more like interpersonal conversations about it. Yeah. So that way it's like not just confined to like one or two people.
Yeah.
There's also only so much.
There is only so much you can do.
Yeah. Because this is game 3 or 4 in this particular episode. And
that's fair.
Yeah.
I mean, part of the reason it took this long is because I was trying to get a little bit more. I wanted, I had to make sure that you guys set up to actually like the characters. 2, set up the major conflict of the series of the episode, and then resolve the conflict.
The sterilization thing felt like a bit of a MacGuffin or a bit of a red herring in hindsight.
It was you guys ran with it way harder than I thought you would. That was there to set up that they don't necessarily have full autonomy over their bodies.
Right.
Again, the IRL presentation of this episode.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that,
and as to like other inner crew conversation about it, there really isn't anybody else Dasavi would have consulted or would have talked to about it.
Right, but that's something that Dasavi, that you as a player might want to think Dasavi could, because now you're in charge of the crew. Like, you're now talking to crew every single day. You're in charge of, excuse me, all personnel decisions. You're in charge of scheduling. You're in charge of conflict between the crew. Dasavi is taking on a lot of pressure. Other than the captain, she has no one she's talking to. It might be an interesting concept, and I don't have a suggestion who it would be, to find another avenue to someone to talk to. And again, I don't know who it would be. When I was playing the Doctor in Brian's game, the only person that the Doctor talked to really was the captain, specifically because, the separation of, for me, it was about being able to do your job and with disconnect in the medical field, but that doesn't necessarily have to be what you're doing. So
right. Well, in this case specifically, and there are two reasons that she wouldn't talk to anybody else about it. One, the biggest of them being, any decisions that are made are going to have massive repercussions, and she wants everyone, as many crew as possible, to have plausible deniability.
Sure.
She laid it at the captain's feet because chain of command she had to, but nobody else needs to know. Nobody else needs to have any space for the Federation to say, you could have stopped this.
I mean,
if she's going to get court-martialed,
it would have fallen on you.
I think
it would have fallen on you guys anyways. But
I think that would have been an interesting conversation for Dasabi and Kendall to have.
That could have been.
Yeah, even like if they didn't talk about that specifically, like even if we just, the
idea of just saying, I'm not going to tell you what's going on, and this is why.
Right. Yeah.
Would have been a good one. A chance to see Dasavi's thought process outside of just talking to the captain, I think would be interesting. Jack had some of that with some of the, I can't remember. We had a really Jack stuff when we were building up Ambrose's external thought process was really more with the NPCs. And NPCs specifically, and mostly NPCs. So it was he's had a chance to do that. You really haven't had a chance to have any personal conversations with anybody other than the captain, or some a little bit with Kendall. But they've almost always turned professional pretty quickly,
right?
So Dasavi's always been kind of the professional face. And it'd be interesting to, and I'm not saying that, I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying it would be an interesting thing to see if we can see some more of the behind the process of what's going on with her, with other than just the captain. You know what I mean? Which could be on me. I could possibly come up with an NPC that would be someone you could talk to. But it could also be interesting you have Kendall you can talk to, you have the Doctor you can talk to, not the Doctor. Right. To some extent, Delphine, because you guys work together, but.
Right. Well, and that is, there is a lot of potential for Dasavi and Delphine, and that is the way that I think we talked about a while ago, having them trend in that direction. And then Delphine has been a little problematic of late.
Mouthy.
A little mouthy. So she's gone from that, like, we started to get a little bit of the softening, and then Delphine was like, I've promoted myself. And I'm like, really? Have you now? Okay.
Yeah.
You could also talk to Yezebeth. Jorad was her friend. And that
it could be an interesting conversation, especially because of the awkwardness of she's way lower ranked than me, and I don't know her.
Well, yeah,
way lower ranked. She's way younger.
Yeah, but I mean, you could do they got the Cisco thing, right? They get
that was the interesting thing about Jedzia and Cisco, was that they had a previous friendship, and I would love to play that out from Yezebeth's point of view. So that's another possibility.
Yeah. All good options. And like I said, it's just things that we can do to try to make some of the characters a little bit, to get a little bit more insight into some of the characters, I think. So,
yeah.
I don't have anything else. Does anybody want to have anything to add or subtract or criticize me over? Or give you my address so you can drive here and slap the crap out of me. I don't know what's going on.
Everybody ducks Jeff.
Yeah,
I'm not going to demand it, but if you're going to offer, I'll.
It's a long drive, man. It's a long drive. You're not even in the same time zone.
But look, the reward is worth it.
It's true. Yeah. I have a very slappable face. All right.
I do have something I want to talk about, but I'll wait till after.
All right. I don't have anything else. On behalf of myself, the rest of the crew, and all that stuff. I don't know.
It was
so long as what's that?
Good session.
Yeah,
it was a good session.
I thought it was a good session. I thought it was a good 3-arc story. There's always things you can look back in hindsight and be like, well, I could have done that better. Yeah. All right. Live long and prosper, or so long and thanks for all the fish, or something like that.